I got to make sure I don't screw this one up. Welcome to the Good People with Erik and Hannah. It is October 15th, 2022. And it is noon on the West Coast, noon 15, and 3:15 on the East Coast. Yeah, girl, I haven't done this one in a minute. I literally almost screwed it up.
Did you almost call us Good Friends, Good Games?
I almost called us Good Friends, Good Games. Like, and I'm staring. I was staring at the actual like show card on the OBS.
Yeah.
I was staring.
Still better than like, was it the last episode that I did before I went on leave that I messed up like royally? Like I just screwed it up.
You just fell asleep and you were like, I don't know what I'm doing.
We'll see how I hold up today.
If you were sitting in chat right now, by the way, if you're sitting in chat and listening to us, watching us on Twitch right now, we appreciate you. If you watch this on YouTube at a later date, we appreciate that as well. Listening to us on, your podcast listening of choice, we also appreciate that. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you are sitting in the chat though and watching it, is my voice look off sync from the camera?
Hold on, let me.
Does it?
Not on my end.
Not on your end? Okay, maybe it's just like OBS preview or something. It looks like to me, or it's probably just my eyes messing.
Oh, is it? I think Pau says it's off.
Oh, Pau says it's off? Okay, we can try this. Let me do this real quick here. We're going to do a quick... And I'm going to deactivate the webcam.
It's a slight lag.
Yeah, it's a slight lag.
On my end.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it back on. Okay, let's see if this fixes the problem. Okay, so test. 1 2 1 2. Does it look normal now? I think it's still a slight lag off.
It's. I think it's.
Or is it just our eyes screwing with us?
I don't know. I'm like, is this a placebo? Like, hold
maybe.
On. My voice is. Maybe I don't know.
You look fine to me. It's my side that looks a little off. Okay, well, it's not inhibiting us from you actually listening or anything. So we're going to go ahead and I'll fiddle with it at the break. But girl, you haven't been here in a minute.
I know. I was thinking about it. I was like, when did I technically take leave? Was that August?
I'm going to be gone for like a month. It'll be okay. It'll be good, like I'm not going anywhere. That's why I'm laughing at the title of this thing, because I literally thought that's what you were gonna do. I was like looking at this thing and I'm like, this is a hidden euphemism or something, right? Like this is a hidden thing.
Nope. There's a reason why suddenly like 1 month ended up becoming like 3 months or whatever it was.
I was just laughing as you were like, yeah, I'm gonna be gone like a month. It'll be okay. It'll be good. But
it ended up working out. I will say that.
It what?
It ended up working out just with the news and everything. I was like, well,
we can get to that in a second here. This will be a little bit of a longer intro because you've been gone for so long. But I will share some stuff. I'll give you my side of life first. Recently, first of all, congratulations to my girlfriend. She has graduated.
Pau graduated.
She is on her way to being a certified occupational therapy assistant, or a CODA. And then
that sounds so fancy.
I know, right? She's gonna go take the exam. She's gonna pass that exam, and then I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dude. Yeah. What's funny, we had like that conversation the other day, or just after her graduation when we were eating, and she's like, "Would you feel like would you be a stay-at-home dad?" And then I'm like, you know what? I think I would get bored. Like. I feel like I'm always one of those ones that feels like I need to do something. Plus, I'm one of those ones where like I was raised the way where it's like I can't leave like my wife hanging, like I can't leave my wife to be doing all this money, like all the money making. I can't do it. It's just not
right. It's just not how you are. Like
right. And I could be like, well, she makes enough to support both of us, but like if I go work, we can make more,
That's so
and
true.
be even better off. So like it's one of those things I just can't do it like that. Like I would at least do part-time or something, just to work from home. I don't know.
Just to keep yourself busy too.
Right. And I'm just like, I can't do it. But we did. So she graduated. I'm proud of her. We also on the Good Friends, Good Games, we mentioned Carla's dad who had passed away. So we, hearts go out to her. From what I understand, she's doing better.
All the love to Carla.
I'm gonna give her a phone call because Carla's news like hit me different, and it's not like I'm not concerned for her well-being or something. It's one of those things because I lost my dad 12 years ago. So like anytime something happens with like somebody's father or something like that, it like hits in a way that it's almost like what they say is like a trigger. It's almost triggering.
Yeah, because you're thrusted back into like remembering, I know, like getting that news.
Yeah,
yourself.
I know exactly what she's going through in terms of not just grieving, but like the stuff you have to go through to lay him to rest. Like I know all of it, and it's just kind of triggering, and it's kind of like I watched from the sidelines a bit, but I did talk to her for a bit, and she seems to be doing okay. So she'll pull through. She's a strong one. But we've made some purchases. So, first thing here, it is now spoopy season. And we went looking long and hard for this one. So we have the Halloween mug.
That's so cute.
It's got ghosts and candy corns and bats and skulls and all that good stuff. And now for the other purchase, which was not even needed and not necessary. But we got this guy.
Is that a candy corn?
It is a candy corn squishmallow with little bat wings on it.
That's so cute. What's their name?
We can't
because they all come with a little name.
Oh, don't tell me. Oh, here it is. We can't determine if it's Casey. So we can't determine though if it's a boy or it's a girl.
Right, because that could be
that's a gender neutral name.
Yeah,
but I'm inclined to believe it's a girl because if you look really, really closely, they have the little like eyelash.
The little eyelashes.
The little eyelashes like flickered up in the corner there. So I'm going to guess. So the funny story about this is I wanted this one because for those of you that don't know, both in my personal life and outside here where you listen, candy corn is my favorite Halloween candy.
Like, you would get a lot of hate for that, but I like candy corn too.
Yeah, I love candy corn. It is my favorite. You know who else hated candy corn? Pau hated candy corn.
Really?
And now she eats the candy corn. She's big. She's a bigger fan of the the pumpkins, the candy corn looking pumpkins, because those are more marshmallowy. But
yeah, I like those more.
Those two, I love those too. But candy corn is my favorite Halloween candy. So I saw this guy on the Squishmallow like website or whatever, and I was like, I need this thing. So in the local mall here, there's one of those like collector shops where they sell like Funko Pops and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's sitting on a shelf. And I asked the guy, I'm like, how much do you want for this? And it's $60. And I'm
$60.
And I'm like, that's an inflated price because we saw what happened with the whole, what was it, the Yoda one? Remember the Costco Yoda one that went in? And they were like inflating the price when people bought them secondhand. Yeah. So I was sitting there, I'm like, that's ridiculous, but I've never seen this one. The guy goes on a wholesale spiel. Oh, it's last year's model, blah, 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 last year's run. And I'm like, whatever. Because I wanted the smaller one, like the smaller ones, because space, this thing lives
no, the big ones are huge.
Yeah, this one lives on my bed. But I was like, okay, Pau, thankfully, she talks me out of it, right? She's like, no, just wait. We'll find it elsewhere. So I'm like, okay, fine. And then the guy's really upset. Like, not upset, but you could tell he's disappointed that he couldn't get this thing out of his store.
He just made the pitch of his life, dude, and you just squashed his dreams.
Yeah, I squashed his dreams. How's he going to make store rent for that month or whatever? But so we go to another store after we've been shopping at Aldi for groceries, and there's another store next door. So we go in, and I find another Halloween coffee mug which had just candy corns on it, and I bought that one. I was excited about that. And I'm going and looking at all the other other coffee mugs to see what's up there. I'm just curious, right? I'm already fumbling through Christmas shit in these stores, by the way. I'm like, oh my God. So, and then out of the corner of my ear, I hear, babes, look, look, look. And then she runs, right? And this is just sitting on a shelf.
Right.
So, without looking at the tag, I don't think you could see the tag. Take a wild guess where we found this.
Where you found it?
Yeah, take a wild guess where we found it.
Did you find it at like a Marshalls or a TJ Maxx?
Very, very close. We found it at a Home Goods.
Oh, okay.
So knowing that the price I was going to pay was $60, how much do you think we paid for this?
I want to say you paid $30. I'm going to go half.
Casey, my dear, you cost a whopping $16.
Are you
At Home
serious?
Goods.
This man was trying to finesse like the whole thing.
So like, this is very, very happy. Pal bought me what's called a lucky bamboo. And it's been very, very like fruitful in our luck. Like, I'm serious. We found this.
Yeah.
Pal found a Spider Gwen like plush pillow that's like a Squishmallow. And she's been sleeping with that thing. And then there's this backpack that Pal's been looking for. She wants a big girl backpack, right? For her laptop and all that stuff for when she goes to work. For her new future job. And we hunted high and low, and all I found it was online, but I went into a Nordstrom's and I found the backpack. And I talked to the girl. I was like, I haven't seen this one. I've been waiting months. And she was like, oh, yeah, let me look it up. She looked, they had 5 for the whole company in the country. And I found it in the store. So like this bamboo, this lucky bamboo, we call her Betty, has been delivering on the luck.
Can you like rub Betty for me and like send over like Betty's bamboo?
We'll do it.
Luck
we'll
for my medical bills, please.
And like we can channel. So it's really, really weird. It's all I don't know if it's superstitious or not, obviously, because we've been being very fruitful in our luck with it. But you can't just go like, someone can't just be like, oh, I need good luck, and then I go buy you the lucky bamboo. It doesn't work that way. I have to gift it to you when you're not expecting it.
Okay.
And then that's kind of how the system works. But it's been very, very fruitful. I don't know if it's all superstition or if it's like honestly just sheer luck, but things have been very, very going well on my camp. There's some work stuff going on that I'm very excited about, but I don't really want to disclose or talk about it much yet because nothing's like in stone. I haven't signed agreements or anything yet. But on to you. You have a lot of news. Okay, so let's start with the hubby.
Hubby is doing well. Without going into too many details, just for the sake of privacy, hubby did get a new job. So I don't think that was mentioned last episode.
No, it happened. All this happened after.
All right. Hubby got a new job. He loves it. It's been going well. It works for us. Great coworkers. Just overall, like it's been such a blessing. So like to go from where he was to where he is now has been awesome. And then I think right after he had got the job, I don't know how long it was after. I couldn't even tell you when I found out this news because it was just sheer shock.
Oh yeah, it was shocking. Right?
I have. You guys listened to Good Friends, Good Games. I have have joined Leshki in the I have a baby on the way.
Leshki and Hannah will do the thing. Can you do the thing, or do you not want to do the thing?
What? Dustin's like, what?
Do the thing. If you want to do the thing, you don't have to if you don't want to. Do the thing. I can
do the thing. Hold on.
Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. If you were listening right now, Hannah has a baby bump.
I have a baby bump. It's getting there. It's not full. Like, if you saw me, like, you wouldn't know I'm pregnant. Like, because I have stomach fat.
Right. But you had to do you did the thing where like you flatten out the shirt and you could see the baby bump.
Yeah, you can see like the
that
bump
ain't the $5 foot long at Subway. That is a baby bump.
But you know what's interesting about pregnancy is that the first part of the reason I was gone so long, Erik knows this, but like I know a lot of you don't know, is like my first trimester was probably like the most brutal thing I've ever experienced. And they say like they're like, you're going to have morning sickness. And like, you don't think twice about it when people say morning sickness. When I tell you this is like the most paralyzing form of nausea you will ever have to go through. I'm like equated to like having food poisoning. But you know, even if I throw up, it's not going to go away. Yeah. It's not going away. And so I ended up losing like 12 pounds like my first trimester.
Is that like scary? Like, does the doctor like look at that and go, that's scary? Or is this common?
No, because the baby at that time, like, doesn't require much.
Right.
Like, they want you on prenatals and stuff like that. So your body's just doing its thing. So a lot of women actually lose weight, like, in the first trimester because they're just so sick. Like, and so I was like, I didn't know I had to get pregnant to get skinny. Like, you know. So, and
this has nothing to do with Betty Bamboo, but I'm also about $50 richer because I won the bet. I told you, first year. First year. I'm going to go hunt down the episode and I'm going to splice the clips together and then you'll see.
I know, because I was like, everyone was like, because you said within the first year, Dustin and I would get pregnant.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was
I
like,
was like,
no. I was like, no. I'm waiting. I'm in no hurry. Like,
mm-hmm.
no, dude. Like, what do you know? So it was a surprise baby,
Your actions
especially in
said
this.
otherwise.
I know. Like, I have the video. It was funny because I filmed like myself, like checking the test,
Yeah.
not thinking I was pregnant, but I always film when I take a test just to make sure. But I wasn't feeling that good that day, and like my period was this TMI, but I don't care. My period was supposed to come that day,
Yeah.
and I was cramping, so I was like, but I was nauseous. I was like, let me just check. And so like you see me like hold up the test, and I'm just like, I look like so. There's fear, there's panic, there's like pain. You don't know what to do.
Oh yeah.
And so I walk out and I tell Dustin, I'm like, I'm pregnant, and he thinks I'm joking because I'm the kind of person
What
that's
was
like,
his
I'm
face?
pregnant.
I want to know what like Dustin's face was.
Dustin's face was kind of like a deer in headlights for a second because he thought I was going to deliver the punchline of like, just kidding. Haha, because I do that. There have been so many times I'm like, babe, never mind, I'm not pregnant.
You
Like,
want to know the funny part of this whole thing? There is no punchline.
there's so much that I am pregnant. And so it was because it was unplanned. Like, it was just like a period of like, we just kind of sat there and we're like, what do we
Yeah.
what do we do? So yeah, and then right after that, like that the week after, that's when I had gotten sick. I was sick probably like most of the first trimester.
Yeah, you were on a rough ride.
I was like, I couldn't game, I couldn't read, I couldn't watch TV. Like it takes so much out of you that like you can't do, and it's different for every person.
Right.
But for me, it's just like I had to just lie there and just. I was trying everything. I was trying like those little wristlets with the acupuncture wrist. They're like acupuncture wristlets that like help with like nausea. Those didn't work. I was eating ginger candies, peppermints, whatever I could stomach. There were things that like
The
we
ones
walked
that
into
get
Publix.
me, and I always thought about this as
Mm-hmm.
is like, hey, I'm not here to judge anybody, right? But like those mothers that know they have to quit smoking and like stop drinking or whatever, like they have to get rid of their stress relievers.
Yeah.
Like, what do they do?
I've always wondered that because those are habits. Like you're
Yeah.
used to, and you know that they directly could harm
Right.
the
You have
child.
to
And
stop,
so
right? I mean, if you have care and concern for your child, then yeah, you have to stop.
right. So I will always wonder that too. I'm like, that must be like a brutal first trimester, I feel like. So yeah, that's it. Where I'm 19 weeks now. I'll be halfway next Thursday.
You're
So
almost there in March, right?
March 10th is our due date.
That's amazing.
I know. So I've gotten better with it. Like there was a period of like not denial, but like it's there's like this moment you realize that your life is going to change completely.
Oh yeah, like your life is your life is no longer. Let me see, how do I word this? The decisions you make in life now are not your priorities yourself are no longer the priority. It's like your decisions now all revolve around the sake of your child, and that your child has everything it needs to thrive and flourish in the world. And that's honestly, I know we've talked about this numerous times. Like that's almost like the thing that scares me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can't like. It's the decisions. Like I can't just make decisions on a whim anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like even now, like I can't just like pack up and be like, I'm going to go live in New York for a year. Like I can't do that anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Because I have another person, and I'm granted there's nothing wrong with this. Like I have no qualms about it. Like, it's just like, there's another person in my life now that, my decisions stuff directly affect. And like, it's part of growing up and like part of, adulthood. And that it scares me a little bit sometimes, but like for the most part, like the pros outweigh the cons of everything.
Yeah, it's scary. In the beginning, I was having a really hard time with it in the beginning, actually, and I'm very vocal about it because like I don't do anyone any kind of I don't do myself a favor by saying like, oh yeah, like I'm so excited. Like no, in the beginning, like I was terrified. Like and but the great thing is in this time of my life, like more so than ever, I have such a support system. Like they say it takes a village. Like I have like a massive amount of people in my life that are going to be there to help. And a lot of my friends had become moms, and like
Right.
my best friend, she's already coming up with like a spreadsheet of people that will make us meals
Aw.
and have them ready for us, like after, because after you give birth, like you don't want to do
Yeah,
anything. Like I'm not gonna want to come here and
you're down and
cook,
out for like a few weeks, right?
yeah, so like she's organizing like who can make dinners or frozen dinners that we can give to
Yeah.
Dustin and Hannah. Um it is still scary. I think one of the biggest things I struggle with is like I have a bit of an identity crisis with it. Um because I just I have this like weird picture in my head that like moms are supposed to be like the ones that are driving like
The
the Honda
minivan.
Odysseys, and like with the like the let's load up the kids for soccer practice and let's bring our snack for school, and like PTA meetings and like that. I'm like, I'm not that kind of woman. Like I'm not
Right.
naturally someone that's very like going to Home Goods and getting her Ray done. Like, and so it freaks, like
We were
that freaked me out because I'm like, do I, is this me getting rid of like Hannah to like step into this like a fall
no.
aesthetic like vibe? And then I'm like, no, I can be a mom. I can be a gamer and a mom.
Right.
And I don't have to sacrifice myself for the sake of like, my personality and who I am.
Right.
This baby's, I love my
It's just the
child,
decisions you make now will your child's well-being will yeah, excuse me, your child's well-being will
Mhm.
take over the decision making now or
Right.
take over the influence in the decisions you're making. That's all it is.
Right.
It's not like your life has to completely stop and like, it just
Mhm.
changes. Life just changes. It doesn't stop.
Yeah. Everyone, like all my mom friends, they're like, You just take your kid to lunch with you
Yeah.
and your husband. You guys want to go somewhere, you take the baby. Like the baby doesn't stop your life. You bring the baby
Right.
into your life."
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard thing because I think in today's society and this has just kind of been for a long time I never wanted children. Like in
Mhm.
my early 20s I was very like anti-kids. So my heart has changed over the years, especially after getting married.
Right. Well, you
But
work
there
with them all day too.
yes. And
So,
that helped kind of heal those feelings I was
yeah.
having, like, and so I love children now. And so but it's still, you go back to like those moments where you had like these very strong convictions of like, well, it's my money. I don't want to spend all this money on a kid. Like, like I want to be able to have the freedom. And so it's kind of breaking away from those old mindsets or beliefs that you had back then
Yeah.
that you don't necessarily carry now, but you're at war with them. You still struggle with them. And so that's
I think it's one of those things now too is where you're finally I think you as a person you're finally just coming into your own. You're starting to realize who you are. You know,
mhm.
after, going through the bit of the identity crises that you were doing, now you just really like this is who you are. You are who you are right now as a person and that's the life you're
Mhm.
going to live.
Right.
Cuz you went through all kinds of them. We all kind of did. You know,
Yeah.
for the sake of, how do I put this? I guess for the sake of acceptance,
Mhm.
you go through all these different identity crises because, the communities that we're all involved in, it's all kind of drilled in your head. You do this, become this, do that,
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing. And then it's like no longer your own road or journey anymore, even though they preach that it's, hey, your journey. Like it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like that. It's kind of like you're
I
just fed
know.
all this information to try to like become. And then when you get out of that, and you kind of go back to this normalcy of life and you realize like this is like really who I am.
Mhm. There's a
I
lot of noise back then.
yeah,
A lot of different voices, a lot of different things, and it's like sometimes you have to strip yourself of that completely and just separate yourself and live your own life to kind of figure out who you are and like, what that foundation is. And so I think that's one of the things that scared me about pregnancy is like I am in a place where I'm comfortable with myself. Like I love who I am. Like there are
right.
things that I need to change. Like everyone, we all need to go through some kind of growth. We're not perfect. And so like I feared, like I was like, oh my gosh, like a child is this gonna be like the thing that breaks me from that, and so it's hard. There are moments that it still gets brought up, but Dustin's been great about it.
You slowly became one of those people where you were kind of like, you know what? I just like to go and work my job. I like to
Mhm.
come home and I like to play my games. I like to, read my books, listen to Taylor Swift, drink my coffee, and then spend time with my husband. Like that's the life you like to live.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that I feel like isn't stressed enough anymore. It's like sometimes normalcy is okay if the person wants normalcy. If that's what they want,
Mhm.
if they want to go home and just have dinner with their spouse and then read their book
Mhm.
or play their games, and all that kind of stuff, then that's the life they want to live. That's fine,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you see it all the time. It's like, why do you don't stream? Why do you have this big old gamer station on your da 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 da? It's like, because that's what I like. That is the
Mhm.
room I made to create my own little Zen environment where I relax and I
Mhm.
do my thing and I share it when I want to share it. And
Mhm.
that's perfectly fine, you
And
know.
it kind of plays into like what we're going to be talking about
Right.
today.
Figuring out who you are, and
Yeah.
like it's fine. It's perfectly acceptable to just want to do that, And that,
Mhm.
I don't think that's stressed enough, you
Yeah.
know.
I think because I feel like I talk about social media way too much. It's probably one of those things that I'm just like really like fired up about. But I think because we've created a culture that makes everybody's life seem so big,
Yeah.
there's like a severe case of FOMO for all of us. Like
Right.
in
Well,
those times that TwitchCon was going on, I didn't go to TwitchCon. It was like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I'll never get anywhere like in my streaming career if I don't go, and it's we're creating this culture where it's like you can enjoy the simplicity of your life, but if you're seeing something big and grand, there's this sometimes if you're not careful, you begin to like question your own life and like, is there fulfillment in there?
it's funny you brought that whole thing up because, like, asked you before we started. I asked you about the TwitchCon like FOMO, because if you didn't know, TwitchCon was this past weekend, and I went to all of them up until this year. Well,
Mm-hmm.
but minus 2015, which I think was the very first one. So I went from 2016 all the way up to 2019 every year, and then I missed this one. Granted, there was two that were out because they didn't have two of them because of the pandemic. So I
Right.
went to all of them except this year's and the very, very first one. And I had that little bit of thing where I was like, oh man, am I really missing out by not being there? Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's seeing their
Mm.
friends and all that kind of stuff. But I looked at it from like a personal perspective where I'm looking at what's going on there and all that stuff. And it's like, I realized like I don't fit that mold anymore. I don't fit
Mm-hmm.
what that whole thing has become.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
whole slew of fresh faces. It's a whole slew of, new faces and young, energetic people that are going to, start their broadcast and do their own thing and do their own careers, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to figure it all out. And but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't fit that mold anymore.
Mm.
I don't fit that niche of what it was anymore, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of our friends are like that too,
Right.
because
It's kind of like it's not for
I
me anymore. Like, okay, this is a
yeah.
whole new crew. Let them go do their thing and have their fun and let them go do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I feel like if I went, it wouldn't feel the same.
I think, yeah, I feel that way too. When I had gone back
Yeah.
in 2018, it really did feel like it was like this euphoria of like friends and
Yeah.
networking and this and that. You get swept up in like that lifestyle. And now looking at where I am in life, I'm like, I just prefer smaller friendship groups. And it's not anything against the people that I loved
Right.
back then or still love, like, because I still have love for them and I still wish them the best. But it's more so like where I am in my life, like, I just cannot I'm like the puzzle piece that doesn't fit in that lifestyle anymore.
Right.
Like I have my own little puzzle going on right
Right.
now.
And
Like
I think it's not like, cause like, I think I've had the most fun doing, good friends, good games with, Zenith and Dill and Leshki and,
Mhm.
the people that come on there, because like it's just we live our lives and we talk about playing our games. We talk about the stuff too that like goes out and, like, when we're not streaming,
Right.
the games we play just for the sake of playing and enjoying them and the stuff. And like
Mhm.
I feel like I don't have to worry about, obviously you got to worry about things you say and you can't say the wrong thing, but I don't have to
Mhm.
I don't have to walk on eggshells about every little like
Yeah.
criticism I have about games or about Twitch itself.
Yeah.
I don't have to walk on eggshells with that criticism anymore.
Mhm.
Like, I'm gonna be honest with it, and I can be myself and be like this ain't right. Like, this whole
Yeah.
situation isn't right. There's a ton of stuff that's not going on right now. And like now I
Mhm.
can sit there and realize, you know what, this isn't cool. Like, I don't
Yeah.
agree with this. I'm not trying to
Mhm.
like be like, oh, if I don't bleed purple anymore, then there's no hope. And I'm just like, that's
Yeah.
not true.
Mhm.
You know, I
That's very
sounds
true.
like it sounds like I quiet quit.
I know.
I
That's
quiet.
like great. So
Was
we
that a good? Was
quiet
that an
quit
A
to
plus transition?
well, I had a great resignation from Twitch. Like so, but you quiet quit from
I
Twitch.
quiet quit.
Like which brings us into our topic for today. which I feel like
That was an
everybody can
A1
relate to.
transition. That was an
That
A1
was
A1
you
transition.
didn't even script that, dude.
I
Like
didn't.
you were
No,
just
I didn't
like,
plan that one. I notice more and more as I do these things, I get better at them.
hey.
Hey, because transitions, truth be told, transitions have always been my problem. Like,
Really?
I can't. Sometimes I
Mm,
can't do. Like, sometimes hard transitions are my problem. Like, where it's like, oh, it's a hard like, oh, okay, we know what we're doing now. Like, I can't ease
yeah.
into things. So yeah, like I kind of quiet quit from
Mm-hmm.
Twitch a little bit. You did the Great Resignation,
Yeah. For Twitch.
so
Oh my gosh, my little Google Doc for our episode. Like, why did I accidentally exit out of that?
as funny as I
So,
accidentally didn't have it open. But here we go. Or
I
like
had it up.
oh, you know what else is funny? I
What?
had a good friends, good games doc open, and I just like had it open. I'm like, oh, the doc's open. I'm good to go. You know how like because it's motor movement. You know, like
Yeah, you
click
have
here,
the
click.
muscle memory.
Yeah, click here, boom, there it is.
All right, so we are going to be talking about the Great Resignation.
Which is
how
the
do we
hot.
explain this? It's like the hotly debated thing, like in the world
Well,
right
there's
now.
two
Like I feel
factors
like,
in here.
yeah.
The Great Resignation. So we'll talk about like at least in my era. This is for sure my era, and more towards your because you're the late millennial.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was growing up and I went to high school and I got out of high school and stuff, you know, like that time frame, the internet existed, but it was not the defining factor in how it would shape like careers and all that kind of stuff. And even like back in the day, finding a lot of companies did not like have the online application stuff yet.
They didn't utilize the internet like
Yeah, they
do
didn't
now.
utilize the internet. Like, so it was a completely different time. Like you could go to a website and then there was some job boards like what was it? Monster.com. Like Monster.com was the
Monster.com. Oh
beast.
my gosh.
Career Builder, all those kind of sites. Like those sites were
But
like
there was no Indeed, there was no Glassdoor, there was
right.
no like any of that. I think Monster was like the leading one.
Well, yeah, the
I don't even think
distribution of
LinkedIn was a thing
information was a
yet.
lot different.
Yeah.
So of course I had to rely on in that era, I had to rely on a lot of the resources that the school provided. You know, you go to high school, you have guidance counselors. They tell you, what do you want to study? What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? Okay, this is what you want. This is the perfect school for that. This is what you're going to do. This is the route you have to go. And, you know, if it all works out great, you know, you'll land your career by 23, 24 when you get out of college, right? Like everything's laid out in this map.
Right.
This life map. You know? So like, okay, cool. I get it. So like I remember when I did it, I had so many like I don't know how to word it. Well, it's like I had so many things I wanted to do as like a job. That was like I wanted to do. And the one that people tell me I was always kind of like good at and I never actually pursued it. But the first thing is like I did journalism in high school. I wrote for the school paper.
Aw.
Because I like to write. I liked writing.
Yeah.
I liked reading and I liked writing. And then at one point, like I think I talked about it here, I wanted to write for like either Rolling Stone or like one of those type of deals, right? Because I was getting really, really into music at the time. I was like, oh, I could write for Rolling Stone and that would be amazing, you know? I even thought about like, oh, I could go write for like, this is really, really going to age me. I could go write for like GamePro or Electronic Gaming Monthly or one of those Nintendo Power, like one of those old
Nintendo Power. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I could go write for one. They were still around back then.
Yeah.
I could write for one of those, like, you know, and like, you know, that would be the dream. And then when I did junior college, I wanted to do psychology. I wanted to do either child therapy or I wanted to do like sex or relationship therapy. I wanted to help people figure out their relationship problems.
Right.
And I like thought about that route. And then the one everyone told me to try, and I never actually pursued it. Like a lot of people try, like you have the voice, you should go try and do radio. Which is funny because it's like here we are now, right? But they're like, you should go and try and do radio. And I thought about that too. I was like, that'd be a badass job. You know? Like back then, you know, you'd be the DJ and you play all these songs and like you get to be the hype man on the mic or whatever, you know, do the call signs.
I can see why. You got a good voice.
Oh, thank you. So like I thought about all that kind of stuff, right? And then but like
Mm-hmm.
ultimately I said I was like I think I'll do the psychology thing. That seemed to be the safest route. That seemed to be the one that had the most
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for decent income. And truth be told, I
Mm-hmm.
thought that would be the career that would make my dad proud.
Right.
So I was like, okay, it's a doctor. So I thought about it. And then you go in and then you start finding out the realities of all this stuff. Like, oh, 7 years of school, then you got to go get like
Mm-hmm.
your dissertation, you got to go get your master's, and you got to be a doctorate, and like all this
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's a huge ass ladder to climb,
Right.
you know? And I did junior college for a couple years, and then I realized I'm wasting my parents' money because
Mm.
like I'm not it's not that I'm not grasping it, but I didn't feel challenged. Um, it felt mundane, it felt boring,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel motivated to finish.
Right.
So I took the next thing I was good at, which was computers, and then I went to like one of those trade schools, and I did one of those accelerated like 1 year programs, and I just hammered through everything in a year because I already knew a lot of computer stuff. I just had to learn formal stuff. So I did one of
Mm-hmm.
those 1 year programs, and then I did an internship, and then worked for a couple places, and now here I am where I'm at now.
Right.
So that's like your traditional career path that happened in my era. You go to school, you learn a thing, you get a job, and then you do
Mm-hmm.
life. You work for somebody
Right.
else,
Yeah.
and you buy a house, you start a family, yada 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 yada.
It's like the American dream.
The
Like
American dream, right?
when people think of the American dream, and then there's the white picket fence and the dog at some point, and
Right. Like this is
like you were
life.
following the social norm in a way.
Right.
Like that's what's deemed normal. Like it's probably different now, but like just because careers have changed, like what jobs look like have changed. But
So the
you were
9 year,
following
you
like
and
a
I have like a
standard.
9 year difference, and a lot happens in
Yes.
9 years. The internet was already in full
Yeah.
swing by the time you, I think, graduated, right?
Graduated high
Like
school.
high school and started going into college. Or was it still
So
kind of infancy?
I can tell you the leaders of the social media was Facebook and MySpace. But
Okay.
MySpace was coming off of its like reign.
Yeah.
Um but Facebook was like the big one, and I think Instagram came out like maybe a couple years after. I graduated 2010.
Okay.
So
Oh,
now
that's
it's
still a
like
big difference because I was a
yeah.
9 year difference.
Oh, okay. So what's interesting is like you think about it now, the cell phones that were like when I was in high school, everybody had different cell phones. Like I
Hmm.
had like one of these little flip phones. I had a Razor.
Oh
Someone had a
yeah.
BlackBerry. Now we're in an age of like smartphones.
Hmm.
Like everybody has a smartphone. If you don't, people are like, "What are you doing carrying around that like archaic looking piece of
Right.
technology?" So that kind of tells you like social media was a thing, but it wasn't yet what it was, what it is now.
We do
So
have to owe
like
some
my
credit. Well, while you're on the topic of MySpace, we'll talk about
mhm,
MySpace for a minute here because MySpace kind of is gonna it. It's the weird place to put this, but since we're talking about it now, because it goes into exactly what we're talking about. The
mhm.
MySpace, we owe MySpace a little bit of thing. Well, I don't know if we owe them thanks. Say that loosely, but we owe them a
Tom and
bit
his
of credit
whiteboard.
because MySpace is responsible for creating the influencer.
Yeah.
They're responsible, and I'm going to give you the two reasons why. One of them is no longer the influencer that they were, but they had her name was Tila Tequila, and she
I
was just
remember
yeah,
Taylor
she was just this young,
Tequila.
attractive woman that posted herself
Yeah.
everywhere on MySpace. The picture, it's all familiar. If you look at it, she's on the beaches
Mhm.
and all this stuff, living the life, in the clubs and stuff
Right.
like that, right? She like fostered this internet celebrity culture. Then
Mhm.
now this name's going to be very, very familiar. But the other big MySpace influencer was Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star started in
Right.
MySpace, became this huge influencer on
Which
MySpace.
I didn't even know.
Right.
Like cuz
And
I didn't know of Jeffree Star until like we're talking about like current
right.
YouTube era.
Right.
Like
Because MySpace was pre YouTube.
mhm.
So like he fostered this internet celebrity thing, and then he migrated over to like YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff, and then he started his own makeup company and all this. Like, as you Jeffree Star, now.
Mhm. Yeah.
But he started in MySpace, and he was one of the two that helped create this internet celebrity um influencer career and culture.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give them the credit there because MySpace did start that, because it did open the door for all the opportunities we're going to talk about.
Right.
So
yeah, everything has a beginning.
So like, what was the route your school like would tell you when it'd be like, hey, we got to talk about career. What do you want to do with your life? Like, what's the route they did? Was it still pretty much the same thing I did?
It was pretty much the same. I went to private Catholic school. So usually there's probably a little bit more in like, I don't know if influence is a word,
Right.
but it's like there's more of a heavy expectation where like you all graduate and you all go to college, which I knew I was going to college. That was something that I never was like, I don't like. Sometimes I feel like you don't know if you're meant for college until like you're actually in college, and you know,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
same thing I did,
so
where I was like, I don't
yeah,
like this.
right. And so I went, I knew right away, like, cause, and I talked about this in like one of my first episodes ever. I wasn't someone that naturally excelled well in school. And I don't think it has nothing to do with I was smart. I was just bored. If something doesn't interest me, I'm
Right.
like, what do I care about algebra? What do I care about this? What do I care about biology? You know? And so my grades, they weren't terrible by any means, and they weren't really even bad, but I would say I was pretty average, like as a student. Like, but I didn't have the grades to get into like a lot of like the universities around here. Like I couldn't get into FAU, definitely couldn't get into UF, FSU, like UCF, like so I knew already. I was like community college. That wasn't difficult for me. I'm like I wanted to stay home. It saved my parents like so much money when you take the community college
Oh yeah,
route. Like,
because you're talking. I don't know how much it is now. It used to be like $100 a unit when I went. I don't know what it costs now. I think from when
I don't know what it costs
it's
now,
like several
but
hundred a unit, right? But
yeah. And honestly, like if you compare, like I'm a big person that's like, if you don't know what you're doing with your life yet, and you usually won't, there's nothing wrong with community college. Even with some of the people I talk to that have gone to like prestigious 4-year universities, a lot of them say, I kind of just wish I did community college the first 2 years and then transferred. Because like I took that time to figure out what I wanted to do. And like, I ended up being in community college for like 4 years just because I took my time. Um, and then I decided I was kind of like, I didn't really know where I wanted to be. At first, I was like graphic design, then psychology.
right, same
And then
thing
I
I
just
did.
kind of settled into, well, maybe I could be an elementary school teacher. So by the time I graduated community college, I had then transferred over to a university for my final like 2 years and got a degree in teaching. Um, I ended up like not passing like the teacher certifications exam, but I didn't. The problem is if you don't pass the teacher certification exams, you have to. They withhold your graduation, and I was in
Oh
school for so
wow.
long at that time. That's I don't know if that's everywhere in the state of Florida. That's what it is. So I ended up doing the thing where I changed my major to Bachelor's of General Studies, and it's like a specialty in education. So it basically says, here's my bachelor's degree, but the majority of my coursework was done in
Are you
education
telling me you game the
because
system?
I gamed the system. I
Hell
absolutely
yeah.
gamed the system.
So
And so how it works is like when you get hired in a school, they will give you 2 years to pass the exam. So
ah,
it was the university. The university was like, we're not going to let you graduate with a degree in education until you pass the exam. But what the school system says is, as long as you have a bachelor's degree, we will hire you as a teacher, and you have 2 years to pass that certification. And the test is like $250, and there are multiple tests. So I was like, let me finesse the system here,
right.
And
The school
so
is telling you like you need to do this, this, this. So I got a question for you,
yeah,
and
yes,
I don't know if you like. Obviously, you teach yourself, but I don't know if you have teachers or like you have teacher friends in other like public schools or whatever. You can correct,
hmm
touch on that. But like one of the biggest problems I think I had, at least with education back then, and I'm starting to realize this. Everything's hindsight when you're an adult, right?
yeah,
Is like you take a student in class, right? Because I was in the same boat as you. I was disinterested,
hmm
right? I'm starting to genuinely believe. I don't believe there are stupid children. I don't believe there are dumb kids. I don't
no,
believe that anymore. Do I believe that there are children that could use help? Yes, which
hmm
I'm going to get right here. But one of the things that bothers me about the school system is, okay, we have a troubled child. He doesn't like accept. He's not even. He's not passing math. He's not passing algebra. He's not
right,
passing this, that, this, and this. Right. But he's a phenomenal writer.
hmm
He
yeah. We've
doesn't
talked
understand.
about
He
this
can't
before.
pass the history test of, A,
hmm
B, and C, what happened on this day, A, B, or
hmm
C, but he can write the whole essay and tell you what led to what, this, and this.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because that's how I was. I can't remember dates for anything. but
Yeah.
I can tell you what happened and what led to what and why this happened and why I think it
Mhm.
happened. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the kind of student I am. So when a student, because math is very linear, you do this
Mhm.
step, this step, this step, and this takes you here. You get this answer. If you didn't, you took a wrong step somewhere, right?
Mhm.
There's no like loopholing it really and getting around
Yeah.
it. You can't
You either
argue,
got the answer right or you got the answer
right? You
wrong.
can't
Like,
argue 2 + 2 = 5. You just can't argue it.
yeah.
It's
You're right.
doesn't. It's linear, right? So when a
Mhm.
student's not like the biggest problem I think I have with the education system, at least, is when students aren't excelling, they put it on the parents and say, "Look, your child's failing this. If he
Mhm.
can't pass this, he's not going to be able to excel in life." Where they ignore the child's things that they are passionate and can produce, good stuff
Mhm.
out of. Like I said, a child can't pass math, but he's a phenomenal writer.
Mhm.
And then but the school system will be like, well, your kid's failing algebra, he can't graduate, he's
Mhm.
not going to excel,
Yeah.
he's behind. So like kids get this, I feel like the school system, I don't know, this may be different now, but back when I was in the school system, I never felt like the school system, aside from the teacher doing it upon themselves, the school
Mhm.
system never would take the effort to help children excel in what they're good at.
Right. And I
granted
can
granted they have a program they have to follow, you know
right.
so if you
I
can touch on it for a minute here, I'm just like, it bothers me.
So this is one of the things I'm actually incredibly passionate about, and it's I didn't last long as a teacher. I know that I'm a teacher now, but not in the sense that everyone thinks. Like I'm not in a school board. I'm not doing
Right.
like K through 12. Like what I do is very different. Like and it doesn't come with the same pressures that a lot of different educators. It has its own set of stressors, but it's I'm not doing the same thing as like a lot of teachers out there. And one of the reasons I did not really last as a teacher was because there's a lot of frustration with it. We are getting, and I don't like to make things political, so it's not really political. These are children, but
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of out of touch administrators that are demanding things from children that and teachers that they can't deliver. So I'll give you an example. When I was taking courses in college, I had to take like a social studies course it's like teaching social studies to elementary school children. That was like the name of the course. And my professor was saying that like this is actually one of the areas that suffers when you're teaching children, because what administration does with all these out of touch people do in the education system, they go to teachers and they say, your kids need to have this reading score, this math score, and this
Right.
writing score, or we're going to hurt your pay. We're going to hurt this. You're going to get you're going to lose funding if the school doesn't perform at a certain level. So you have these teachers that are stressed out of their mind trying to drill in reading, writing, and math and completely neglecting some things that are supposed to be part of the curriculum. But some teachers are just, and I can't blame them. This isn't me throwing shade at teachers because I get it, where they're like, I can't do the social studies lesson today. I can't do the science lesson today. I can't do recess today. I can't do this because testing is coming up in a week and I have to drill into these kids
Right.
these, reading, writing, math. And so you are putting an insane amount of stress on teachers who not only have to teach, but now they have to be counselors to their students. They sometimes have to act as parents. Like we have teachers that are buying clothes for their students
Oh my God.
because I have teacher friends that are like, they'll notice like one of their students keeps wearing the same pair of shoes every single day. Like I had one friend that said this child his feet could not fit into the shoe, and like he was having like blisters on his feet, and
Oh
so
my
she went out
God.
and bought shoes. But these are the issues that teachers are dealing with now. So you're asking teachers to be tough on them with the testing. Let's get but some of these kids, they're wondering where their next meal is coming from. So you're playing counselor
Right.
too.
That's a
You're
whole
playing
life of
parent.
stress that's outside of school. Like,
It is. And teachers are not even getting paid nearly enough to deal with the things
that's
that
the
they're dealing
biggest
with.
problem.
And
That
so,
pisses me off to no end is the lack of appreciation we give to our educators in terms of, income.
yeah,
I asked,
it's not easy.
what's it called? Like I asked somebody at a Target because they were buying, granted they weren't a teacher, but they were doing something for their
Mm-hmm.
church, but I thought it was a teacher. and they had stacks of crayons, colored pencils, notepad, all this kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I know teachers buy stuff for their classrooms, and
Mm-hmm.
it just baffles my mind that teachers have to pay for this already out of their lower income. I don't know if they get to
Mm-hmm.
expense it or not. I'm not in that business.
I think maybe through taxes they can, but
Yeah,
like a
but
lot of
like
the
the
time
company. So
schools aren't
like,
going to
look at it this
reimburse
way:
you. No.
when I go to
Yeah.
work and my laptop dies.
Mm-hmm.
Work gives me a new laptop. I don't
Mm-hmm.
go buy a new laptop out of my own income. If I'm a contractor, yes. But
Right.
if I'm an employee for my company and I go buy a brand new buy a laptop, they either expense it, I can expense it and they refund me for it, or
Mm-hmm.
reimburse me, I'm sorry, or they give me a new one out of stock from this company corporate stock.
Right.
I don't have to go buy this stuff and just it baffles me that
Mm-hmm.
the school system does not give teachers pens, pencils, and pencil boxes, all the
Mm-hmm.
general tools that they need. That's a whole
Yeah.
different beast in itself, but that irks me that these people already have to take their income that's already low and then buy supplies to do their jobs. That's just ridiculous and
Mm-hmm.
absurd.
I
Um,
remember when for the very brief period I taught, I think I spent like $400 out of my own pocket
it's
to
absurd.
set up my classroom. And um I remember thinking like, how am I gonna do, like, I was a new teacher at the time and I was like, I didn't have that money, right? So you're putting it on credit. um I can tell you there was like this moment for me at the end where like when I had quit like teaching like standard K through 12 teaching, um one of the biggest things was like, you don't have room to breathe as an educator.
Yeah.
Like I'll paint you like what a typical day looks like for a teacher. And I was single at the time, like I, in the sense of like I wasn't married, I didn't have
Right.
kids. I'd wake up at 6 in the morning. I would go to work. I would probably leave at like 6:30, get to work at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Work started at 8. I like to get there early because like I don't like to rush things.
Right.
So I'm there from 7 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, technically the kids get out at 3, so 7 to 3. But I had to stay afterwards to like get some things done. That's like 4 to 5. So then I'm getting home around 5 to 5:30. Get home, you have to shower because like kids, they got germs.
Yeah, they're gross.
But yeah, so between 5:30 and 6, showering, getting your dinner ready, eating, and then the rest of the night was lesson planning. And so what you're seeing just based off the thing I've given you alone, where is the time to breathe? Where is the time for
Right.
self-care?
You're
Like
working almost 24/7.
Right. And so even on weekends, I remember at one point I was like spending my weekends trying to like get some things done so that I wouldn't have to carry it into the next week. But you can never plan a school day fully. Like things happen, right? And it was very depressing. I was like, I would cry every day and I ended up just like leaving teaching. And it's not one of my proud moments because like I do look at it and I'm like, maybe if I just worked a little harder. But at the end of the day, it was not for me. And would I ever go back? Probably not. Because if you actually look, this is one of the big hashtags I have, or not hashtags, one of the big parts of my algorithms on TikTok. It's called Teacher Quit Talk.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of teachers are coming out now and saying, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I quit. So you're seeing teachers, and this falls into this whole great resignation. There's a great resignation of good quality educators. And what a lot of districts are doing now is they'll hire you just if you have a bachelor's degree.
Right.
Like you could have a bachelor's
'cause they
degree
have
in
to
something
fill
that
it.
hasn't. Yeah, they have to fill it. They're asking bus drivers to substitute teach classrooms. Like there's a sub shortage, there's a teacher shortage. And so I'm like, my heart breaks for a lot of teachers out here that,
Well,
and also too, we're finding like behavioral issues in a lot of kids where teachers are getting attacked in their classroom.
yeah.
Like they're getting like one, I saw one teacher say that she's pregnant and like a student told her, I'm going to stab you in the stomach and kill your baby. And when she
Oh,
went to
hell no.
when she went to admin about it, they gave him like a slap on the wrist and like he had ended up coming back.
Right.
Like,
We can't have the
shortly
parents
after.
angry at us. We can't have this get on the news. We can't
Yeah.
have this get on social media. Isn't it your lovely state of Florida where the governor's like, hey, if you were in the military and you can come be a teacher. Isn't that what they were doing? Like, isn't he trying to recruit teachers?
I don't know if it was here. I remember reading that, but I can't remember if it was here in Florida or if it was somewhere else. But I remember thinking like, I'd have to actually look about it. It might have been here.
Yeah, but like,
veterans. But I remember thinking like,
You
Like
can't
teaching is
have these
not.
people like not without extreme like psychiatric evaluations, because these guys, if they came from Afghanistan, Iraq, any of that kind of stuff, they're probably PTSD. And then you
Mhm.
put them in the hands of your children, or you put your children in their hands. Like that's that's a dangerous, tricky road to
Mhm.
navigate. I'm not saying all
I
veterans suffer from this, because it's not true,
Right, no.
but
You're
like
just saying that like it's putting a big risk.
it's putting a
Like
big
it's
risk.
um I think before the school year started this year, I think the statistics out were for it in like my county alone, they were looking for 900 teachers.
Right.
They still had not filled 900
Yeah, that's
spots
insane.
for
And then you're all
teachers.
on salary, and it's an incredibly low salary. You guys aren't paid overtime, none of that.
Mhm.
So so going back to this whole thing where it's like, yeah, like the system doesn't help students excel in what they're good at.
Mhm.
If I was a counselor and student came to me like, I don't know what to do with my life.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, you want to go to college, da da da. We figure that out. You want to go to college? What do you
Mhm.
want to do? Or at least start having the discussions. And then, the other thing we look at is like, okay, what are you good at? And then
Mhm.
what do you want to do?
Right.
So here's a fun fact. I just learned about this. Remember how I said I wanted to do psychology and all that stuff, but I ended up in
Mhm.
IT?
Yeah.
I found out through that whole movie we watched about the social experiment.
The
that,
social dilemma?
yeah, there's actually a whole role now for psychologists in information technology. Their job is to
Mm.
work in IT and figure out how to get people to click, how that algorithm
Right.
works, how they boost the algorithm for those clicks.
Right.
How do we
Because you're
attract people to
playing
click things? You're playing
right,
with
you're basing off of human psychology.
yeah. And
What's
I'm like,
attractive to
that would have
people.
been a perfect role for me back in the day.
Mhm.
It didn't exist. Now it
Yeah.
exists. You
Yeah.
know. Now I'm kind of getting more interested, and it's kind of the same thing. Like I'm starting to get more interested in like hacking and security and stuff like that. I'm really
Mhm.
getting into social engineering, and that, if you don't know what social engineering is that's how people breach using social engine. It was breached using social engineering. So for
Mhm.
example, social engineering would be like, Karen is older. She will either A, tape her password under her keyboard with a Post-it, or
Mhm.
B, she's going to make her password something of significance in her life, her husband, her dog,
Right.
all that kind of thing. So the idea of social
Mhm.
engineering is, oh, I learn about Karen. I go on her
Mhm.
Facebook. I learn what her dog's name is. I learn what her
Mhm.
husband's name is, her 3 kids.
Mhm.
And then I start thinking about like passwords that would include those. When was she
Mhm.
engaged, or when was she married? What's her
Yeah.
anniversary? That's all social
Yeah.
engineering. And that's how you breach somebody
Yeah.
using their social
Right.
environment.
That's why a lot of it was funny because I don't know how true this is, but I think it's like one of some of the most common passwords are like 1 2 3 4 or literally the word password, because a lot of
Um,
times people are too lazy to want to think of anything or
right.
change
Another
anything,
one
so
that's
they
very,
just
very common is it'll actually be the password. It'll be like Netflix password, exclamation point.
yeah.
LinkedIn password or LinkedIn login,
Yeah.
exclamation point. That's very, very common.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you how bad it's gotten is to the point where it's like, if I have to go work on somebody's machine and they're not at their desk, the first thing I'll do is I'll
Yeah.
look under the keyboard.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'll look under the keyboard. I'll look under the mouse. Sometimes they'll tape it under the
See,
mouse.
like I'm naturally so paranoid. I'm the kind of person that would be like, I'm gonna put this in an envelope and stick it, like dig a hole in the ground and like
That's
shove it.
much
Like
more secure than just putting it under a
yeah,
keyboard, though.
I know, but that's like how paranoid I am. Like I can't, I would never, like I'm not someone that leaves my password like on my desk or anything like that, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, I'm the person that always forgets her password because I'm consistently changing it
Yeah.
all the time. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta go reset my password.
But like that. So that would have been but like we don't
Um,
have anything that helps children excel in what they want to learn. And that's the disturbing
yeah.
part to me. That bothers me a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
someone
I
put
get that. Like,
Pal put this in the chat here. That's like the house key under the fake rock that doesn't look like a rock.
yeah.
You know,
Or like the house key under the mat too, where
right?
it's like,
Very,
I
very
can't
common.
ever, I'm like, I would never put my house key anywhere near the door because like
Right.
that's
You know,
like, dang.
it's
Yeah.
just common things like that. Like I know for sure if someone's not at their desk and I need to work on their machine, I'll look under the keyboard.
Hmm. How often do you find that it's there?
Out of 10,
Yeah.
it's not very common now because I've drilled it into people's head not to do it. But
Yeah.
I would say back in the day, out of 10 instances, I would find at least 4. So
Mm,
about
okay.
40%.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, that of
That's
people
too
that would
high.
do that. If it wasn't under the
Yeah.
keyboard, it was. I will. Let's put it this way: 1 out of 10 will have it just on a post-it on the monitor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it may not say what the password's to, but there will be a password on the monitor, and I know it's a password because it's like complicated. It's got uppercase, lowercase
Right.
numbers, and
It's
symbols.
like password exclamation mark 1 2 3 4
Right.
5.
So,
Like,
but like, yeah, that's very, very common. But
um,
we don't teach people how to excel. Like, we don't do it. It's like, oh, you're failing math. You're going to fail in life. You know.
right.
And now so we'll talk about, okay, you get into your career. I've always
Mm-hmm.
been told, and I've always been thinking, like, you work hard, you do your job for the guy, you really put in the effort, be a team player, and
Mm-hmm.
you will move your way up. Back in the day, that used to be true.
Yes.
Back in the day. So there's a very big difference between, and you'll realize this when I talk about it here. Back in the day, there was a lot more need for people to do the jobs that we needed to have done. So you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, right? Because we didn't have technology, we didn't have robotics, we didn't have self checkouts and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We needed somebody on the phone to answer the phone, take your bill over the phone, and post it to your
Yeah.
account. Now we don't need that. We go to the website, we pay the bill. Hell, we have auto pay. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just make sure the account's in the money's in the account, and boom, my gas
Yeah.
bill's paid.
Right.
But back in the day, we needed somebody to do that. Direct upon. We needed somebody at the bank to work the teller and take your people's paychecks and cash them into their accounts. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
needed those people. We needed people to check out our groceries. Things of that sort. We needed those roles.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't necessarily need those roles. We have automated phone attendants. We have automated self checkouts. We have automated pay systems. Those kind of things. So there was more inclination from a company to treat employees right, to maintain that staff, because obviously
Yeah.
there's things like training involved. You train them,
Mm-hmm.
they get good at their jobs. If you lose that person to another career, you lose
Mm-hmm.
someone that has 5-6 years experience. You have to get somebody and train them and spend the money to train them and
Yeah.
hope they stay around long enough to get to that skill level so they do the
Right.
job efficiently. So there was more
Mm-hmm.
companies were more inclined to keep employees.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in a generation now where we don't necessarily need that, and employees are being treated as expendable.
Yeah. It's like, well, I can fill your spot.
I can fill your spot, or I don't need 12 cashiers. I'll put up 6
Yeah.
self checkouts.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those bullshit arguments that pisses me off, because it's true. I'm not going to argue that it's not true, but the argument that we get from these people that support this or support these things is like, oh, the machine doesn't call in sick. The machine's car never breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
Machines break down, one, but two, they don't call in sick. Blah, 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 blah. They don't, BS you. They don't party on Fridays and call out on Saturday when you need them.
Right.
Okay, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But there's still human beings that need to work and keep the economy flowing.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
very
there's
true.
talk of the middle class. The middle class was more prominent back then because we had more people doing these middle class jobs.
Yeah.
Now we don't have as many people doing these middle class jobs. We have the people that create the equipment to eliminate the middle class jobs, or we have the people doing the poor jobs. Right? Or we have the people that don't have jobs and are on, government income and all that kind of stuff. The middle class is slowly being eliminated because we're eliminating these roles.
Yeah.
It ain't the people coming over from the border and all that stuff that are taking the jobs.
You want to know something interesting is so I guess technically, like, we're like Dustin and I are middle class. Like,
Right.
if you were to look to combine our incomes, I don't make much of anything, to
Right.
be honest with you. I don't make a lot. Dustin doesn't make a lot of money either. And so, with this baby coming, there was this, like, I might need to get, like, help for, like, Medicaid, or
Yeah.
because these medical bills are coming in at such a rate that, like, it scares you. It literally
Right.
freaks you out. And so, like, every time, like, I try to call to get, like, approval, they're like, well, you guys make too much. And it's like, how are you going to tell me that I make too much?
Right.
This is like a whole separate thing. But I'm like, how are you going to tell me that I make too much when I really don't? Like you said, the middle class is going to be, like, swept away completely, because it's like, you're telling me that that I make too much, and it's like I don't feel like I make too much. Like if anything, we're just trying to get by a
So
lot of the
I'm looking
times.
at it here.
Hmm.
The average childbirth is costing roughly C-section's $22,000, 22 and a half, and then vaginal delivery is 13 grand.
Hmm.
This is just the cost of the childbirth. This doesn't account
This
for
is
the
just the
doctor visits
delivery.
and the postnatal care and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like when I tell you it's been like so stressful, like to get every time I get a bill, like I feel bad because like I just cry all the time because I'm like I can't even like afford this. Like
Right.
people are like, well, just pay it a little bit at a time. And I'm like, there's nothing more stressful than to see a stack of bills and look at it and be like, I have to feed myself. I have to feed my husband and I. We have to take care of us, our rent. Like if we can spare what we can for some of the bills, we'll try. But like, it's not a $20 bill. Let's just be
No,
honest.
yeah.
It's like a $700 bill for something that I have to get done. If I don't get this done, it's not good for my
Yeah,
son.
they administer
Yeah.
you an ibuprofen, they charge you $50 for it,
Yeah.
And it's one of these things that's just like, and that's the thing you were talking about is like, well, you called to try to get the care, but you didn't qualify. That's because the system they're using and the numbers they're using are grossly outdated. That hasn't been updated
Right.
for inflation and all of that kind of stuff, which is a whole
Right.
different beast.
Right.
So like,
You know.
again, we're stuck in this whole system where we're struggling to work hard and we're struggling to
Mm.
keep our families, and everyone's going through this right now, like grocery bills and all that stuff. Groceries and stuff is
Mhm.
getting grossly expensive, gas.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I'm fighting and I'm working hard and I'm doing whatever I can to stay afloat. And my boss
Mhm.
continues to get rich. I work at
Mhm.
Amazon. My boss, and I don't actually work at Amazon, just saying
Yeah.
as an example. I work at Amazon.
Example.
My boss, raked in
Mhm.
I don't know what the number is, some random number,
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
profit of $4 billion last quarter,
Yeah.
da 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 da
Mhm.
da. And it's like, okay, well, what about me? You
Right.
know,
And I'm not, I will say this, like, and a lot of people might not like that I'm saying this. I am not opposed to someone if they are wealthy. Like, if
I'm not
you've
either.
worked, like, I know a lot of people have problems. I have my own issues with billionaires too, but like, a lot of the times, like, if we're talking about people that make millions of dollars, I'm like, okay, like, let's say you start from the bottom, you made your way to the top, like, okay, like, that's fine. But I'm like, good for you. Like I hope that a lot of people that I know and love are able to get themselves to a place where they can really not have to worry about finances like this. I think we all hope that,
I
you
have
know.
a, I have
Um
I have a guy I work with. He's a sales representative, and he's
mhm.
very successful.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's filthy rich or whatever,
Mhm.
considered rich or whatever. I
Mhm.
don't know his income, but I just know he's successful.
Yeah.
He lives in a nice part of LA. He drives a
Mhm.
Tesla, all this kind of stuff. Like he's successful. He's what you would
Mhm.
define as a successful person, right?
Right.
Wears nice suits, all this, And he's one of the nicest guys
Yeah.
I've met. And I was always telling him, I was like, yeah, I've never even ridden in a Tesla before. And he's like, you know what? If I have it here and you're here, we'll go for a ride. Like he's one of the
Mhm.
nicest guys, so you can check it out. He's very
Yeah.
kind. He comes and he chit chats with me. He's like, "How's it going? What's what anything I need to look out for?" Type of stuff. Any changes? And like I talk with him, and he's one of the nicest guys. You
Because
know,
in that place, this is my feelings is if you're in a place where you've been blessed to that degree, like there's an importance in generosity. Like I'm not saying you have to give like your whole paycheck, but in generosity and in humbleness too, because it could be gone like that.
I don't
Or
even
you could
want a rich guy's
right.
paycheck. Would I like it?
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't necessarily want
Yeah.
it. I just want the person that has that significant income to still treat me like a person.
Right.
And the reason I bring this up, there's a great guy on TikTok. His name is Nicholas Crown. And he does
Mhm.
these videos where it's like how a rich person talks to the garage attendant, how a
Mhm.
really rich person talks to the garage attendant.
Mhm.
And the rich guy's like the new money, like tech
Yeah.
bro, new money type of guy. And he
Yeah.
treats the car attendant like trash. Whereas the super, super rich guy who's just super
Mhm.
wealthy, he treats them like the
Yeah.
same person. He's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'll tip for you. I'll tip for that guy, you know,
Yeah.
so it's a
Yeah.
great account. You learn a lot
Yeah.
from just on how people, and you learn like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Treat people respect no matter your income,
Yeah.
and things like that. But that goes to the great resignation type of thing, is because these people are working in these jobs and they're getting treated horribly
Mhm.
by these employers.
Yeah.
And I feel like this comes back from 2008 when the crash of 2008 happened, which is where I went to school and I got out and I crashed. I got out right in the middle of that recession.
I was a junior.
Yeah.
Was I? I think I was a sophomore or junior I would have been like in between, like in that time. So
Yeah.
like I don't have much of a memory of
Oh, I have
the
a
Great
very fun,
Recession.
very vivid memory of it because I
Yeah.
couldn't find
So
work.
you were going into it. I was still in school. It was
Yeah.
my parents that felt the Great Recession. Like I was just a kid, like
Yeah. So like
so.
it was rough,
Mhm.
right? And like I think some of these companies go back to this thing where these places go like, you should be thankful you have a job. You should be
Mhm.
thankful you're working. Da, 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 da. You should
Right.
be thankful I keep you on board. And like, how
Mhm.
does that make people feel? It doesn't make them feel
Mhm.
appreciated. It just
Right.
be thankful I'm keeping your ass around. That's the vibe I
Yeah.
get from that, right? And
I
then
think a Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, just to kind of wind off of it, and we're seeing it a lot. Like, have you seen some of these videos on like social media where the restaurant puts up the sign that says, "Because people don't want to work because they got all these
Yeah.
free handouts, we have to close our
Yeah.
business." I guarantee you that's not
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Are you going to get people like that? Absolutely. There's always going to be like the dark side of every situation. Like you're going to get people that don't want to work. But the good majority of people they're just tired of being treated like crap. I think, this comes from our parents' generation where, like you said, you work, you pick a job, you're there for 40 years, and then you have a nice retirement party.
Yeah. You don't
And
even get the
then
retirement party anymore.
now you don't get no, you don't even get the retirement party. But it's very frustrating. I think everyone's like tired of like working. And remember how we talked about that one episode where Kim Kardashian was like, you better get up
Right.
and work. People, this is where the frustration and the anger comes from, because it's like, I work hard.
Right.
I do. Am I a perfect employee? No,
No.
absolutely not. There are going to be days that I struggle. I love my job. I have a great boss. I have no complaints like in that area. Right. But it's very disheartening, even if I were to work somewhere else, to work, 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 and then you can't pay your medical bills
Right.
for a baby that's coming. Like I want my son to like come into this world. I want to be able to like devote all my time to him
It's
and
not
like my
even just your
finances.
like your medical bills. Like, well, that's
Right.
because to me, medical bills come
Mm,
secondary. Obviously, you're having a child,
yeah.
and medical bills are affected. But like to me, like
Right.
I get sick and I have to go to a hospital. That bill is
Mm,
secondary. My primary is like I'm making sure I have a roof over my head and power to power
mhm.
my fridge and food in my refrigerator. Those are my
Yeah.
priorities of life.
Right.
You know, so there's people that are struggling just to make those ends meet. They're living
Mhm.
paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out if they're even going to make their mortgage or their rent that month.
It was like, I don't do you guys have WIC over in
Oh yeah,
California? I don't know.
yeah, we have it
Okay.
here.
So my pregnant mom friends were like, you're pregnant, like the government will give you assistance with
Yeah.
groceries and stuff like that. And like with the inflation, it's like you go to Publix, you pay $150 for like maybe 4 days worth of food.
I don't
Like
look at it like
maybe.
total bills
Right.
because
Right.
people will buy like erroneous things that they don't necessarily like. Oh, I had to buy dish
Right.
soap. I don't buy dish soap every grocery trip.
Right.
But like the one things I look
Right.
at, like, okay, I look at a price of meat, a pound of meat.
Yeah. Mhm.
2 years ago, I was probably paying five something on the high end for 7%. It was more like
Yeah.
4.75, $5, right? Now,
Mhm.
depending on where you go, it's upwards of 6.75 to 7 for 7%.
Yeah.
And
You
like,
know.
or milk. Milk, used to be what, $2, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now milk's 3.50. Like that's how I
Have
look at
you
that stuff.
Have you noticed too, like, let's say you go out now and you buy a bag of chips,
Hmm.
right? Like, let's say you buy like the party sized Doritos.
It's
You're
three
like, you know what? I'm
quarters
gonna,
instead of,
yeah. And so now they're calling it shrinkflation, where it's like you get the bag of chip, you get the big party size, and then you're done by the end of the week or like half the week, and you're like, where the heck did all these chips go that I bought? And the bag's like $8 or something. I'm probably over exaggerating, but like, I'm just
yeah,
making my point. But like, groceries have gone up, and so like WIC is supposed to help with that so that you're eating better for like the baby. and
right,
and so when I called WIC for my interview, and they were like, well, how much do you make from your husband? I'm like, well, this, and they're like, oh, well, you don't qualify.
right.
And I'm like, how are you? I'm like, and I will say I'm thankful to have my job. I feel very blessed. We are very blessed to be working. Like not everybody's
Yeah.
in a position where they can work. Um but we can also acknowledge that like sometimes like pay just needs to be increased, or like something has to change. If the pay's not going to increase, make housing a little
Thank
bit more
you.
affordable. Like if you're not going to raise like my pay, which okay, fine, you don't have to, but make it so my rent isn't going up every year.
Yeah.
Like
Or
our
cap
son
it.
is,
Or
or cap it,
cap
yeah.
it.
Like I'm due March 10th. Our lease ends March of next year. And so I've been in like I'm trying because the baby feels everything I'm feeling, but I've just been in like this prayer and trying not to like freak out. That I'm like worried that our rent's going to go from this to go up like $300 to where we can't afford it. And
Yeah.
then it's like, and I'm just catastrophic
You're thinking
thinking in a way.
catastrophic or whatever, but like it's a
Right.
valid thought. Like you're
Yeah.
going in with the expectation it's going to go up.
Hmm.
But like,
Right.
I
And I'm tired of
understand.
people saying like just work hard or like find other ways to get money. And it's like I work hard, like I do, and all my coworkers do too.
Mm,
Like I come home like I'm pregnant. That is a and this isn't like a victim card, but this is a whole different level of physical like strain that's going to put on you.
right. And
Your
that's the
back's
other
going to
thing.
hurt.
Like I hate this argument. It was like
Yeah,
just work harder. Like
yeah,
I'm already, these are the people
hmm,
working 2 jobs already. What do you want me to get? Like a
hmm,
third? When do I sleep to
yeah,
work these jobs effectively? That's a stupid argument. I
hmm,
understand things like I understand landlords have expenses. I understand those expenses go up. Water goes up.
yeah,
You know, you materials to repair things go up. I understand that thing,
hmm,
but to go ahead and raise everybody's rent up $300-400,
hmm.
that doesn't
And this
add up
and it falls back into like why is there a teacher shortage? Because teachers cannot afford
to live
this
where they're
area.
teaching.
So you almost have to like you'll find that most teachers in my county are married because they
Yeah,
have dual income. But the ones that aren't are single moms or they're
fresh
single
out of
dads or what
college type of
fresh out
thing.
of college like there's either a roommate situation going around or they're living in like areas where like it's maybe not as safe or like
Right.
it's farther like if their school's here and they're living 20 miles from their workplace like they're not probably living in the same county, to be honest with you, as like where they teach. And so we're running into this issue where you're not gonna get good quality teachers that know the area, that know the kids that have been raised here because they can't even afford it. Like I've
Right.
grown up here all my life. I don't want to leave yet. I don't feel called to leave. I feel like Dustin and I still have things to do here. But I had this conversation with him. It's like, when does it get to a point where it's like,
You get to this
I
point in life where
can't.
you're like almost like,
Yeah.
okay, we have to actually like we're at the point now where we have to start making moves. You're no longer planning.
Yeah.
You're like, we
Yeah.
need to start making moves. Like we need to
Right.
either get income up and do something else, or we
Yeah.
need to go where somewhere's cheaper.
Right. And
That
Dustin has been like so good he comes home from work and he's working on art
yeah.
because he's like, I need to find some way to get like some extra income in. So I'm gonna plug his shop in at the to be like a supportive wife. But I look at my husband and I'm like, I won't he shouldn't have to be doing this. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like he loves doing it and like I support him and like he loves art. Like his current job doesn't it's not like an art based job. So
Right.
he's not doing it at work, but um I just look and I'm like, how nice would it be like if we could just spend the night together as like a couple, like
Yeah.
and
You come
just
home, you
hang out.
relax and live life, and then
Yeah.
you enjoy your thing. Um,
Yeah.
what we'll do? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a break because I'm figuring you're needing one pretty soon here. So
Yes.
we'll go
Well,
ahead.
I am yeah, but we'll take one.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
good.
go ahead and take a break, and then we'll go in and we'll talk about like how the pandemic changes all of this.
Mhm.
So you've been listening to the Good People with Eric and Hannah. Hannah's back. She's chilling with us. We're chilling
Yeesh.
together. She's griping to the world right now. She's like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm letting out like my personal feelings about the world while being pregnant. The things that make me cry at
The
night.
emotional just vomit that's coming out right now.
I'm like, help me.
On that note, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Good People with Eric and Hannah. We've been talking about the Great Resignation. So, we're all working. We were all told these lies about how if we do this, that, this, and this, everything will be fruitful and it'll be great and life will be grand and
Yeah.
we'll have the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're starting to find out it's not really a reality.
No.
Now, yes, we do make our own destinies. Like we make the changes in our lives and stuff to get us where we want to be. But, we're our expectations versus reality have hit. So let's talk about the pandemic because the pandemic
Okay.
has changed a bunch of this.
Yeah.
The pandemic has flipped the working world upside down in every which way but loose.
Mm-hmm.
So the first issue we came across with the pandemic is we all across, the news and everything, we all saw the massive layoffs that were happening during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
There were, we were all isolated. Positions that were required to be in office were no longer viable, and those jobs
Mm-hmm.
were eliminated.
Right.
And I'm hoping by this point, some of those people have recovered and got back to, but not only that, but we had, millions of bartenders and waitresses and all those, service level jobs go
Mm-hmm.
away because their businesses were no longer open.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I learned a lot of fun stuff. Like, I learned not fun, but I learned a lot of things about some places during the thing. Like, I found out, I forgot which company it was, because the only reason I found it is because I have friends that are bartenders, high end, cocktail bartenders. And I found out that one of the companies, I think it was like a Jameson or a Jack Daniels, one of those distilleries actually set up a fund and they raised
Mm-hmm.
money to help pay bartenders and stuff during the pandemic's initial run to help
Mm-hmm.
keep them afloat because they didn't have jobs. That says a
Right.
lot about something where it's like, this
Mm-hmm.
isn't cool, because those bartenders are the lifeblood of their business.
Right.
What's a good bourbon? Oh, you want, example, Jack Daniels, or you want Jameson,
Mm-hmm.
like they're the foot soldier in marketing for these companies. So it's for them to go out and be like, you know what, our bartenders are out of work right now, we can help them. That says a lot,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know. And as sad as it is to say, the alcohol industry was like thriving during the pandemic. People are at
Mm-hmm.
home, they're depressed, they start drinking,
Also, to teachers that have been like predominantly always in the classroom on their feet have now had to been forced to teach online.
Yeah.
Which, can you imagine trying to wrangle a bunch of like 10 kindergartners in front of a computer?
Can't
Like, when
even
already
wrangle
the
12
reason
grown adults into a Zoom
I'm
meeting.
like, you can't even like. There are negative effects to screen time with children,
Yeah.
like excessive amounts of screen
Right.
time. So now we are taking something that has been known to cause, problems behaviorally, developmentally. We're taking a screen and we are putting them in front of the kids' faces. And, I get it. It was the time we didn't know anything about the pandemic. Like, could anything different have been done? I don't know. But now teachers have to adjust. Teachers have to take lesson plans that they're used to doing in front of kids, and kids are touching and feeling and like pasting things and
Right.
putting things together, and now it's like all on a computer screen,
It's so
sitting
wild.
down there in their
So
homes while their parents are probably working in like the other room. Like,
that's where I was getting. Like, we had a
yeah,
lot of guys. Like, so um it's hard to navigate this kind of thing because it was a tough time for a lot of people. So
yeah,
I can say with a lot of confidence, I was actually very, very fortunate to be in the position I was, because I was still able to work from home.
mm-hmm.
My company did go through layoffs, and I'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
this in a second here. So my company obviously did the layoffs that they had to do to stay afloat. Our 401ks were frozen, all of that kind of stuff, just a company to stay afloat,
Mm-hmm.
because everything we do is in house.
Right.
Our meetings, everything is done in house. Our client facing products are in house, in person.
Mm-hmm.
We had to figure out a way to transition that to online. We had to figure out a way not only just to transition it to online technology wise, but we had to figure out a way to sell it.
Right.
You're trying to sell a product to people who are used to doing something in person for their whole career. Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
you do this? How do you navigate? How do you even convince them? We have a lot of old timers in our business who are just like, that's not going to
Yeah.
work. Like,
Yeah.
so we went through a real rough patch. And before I get into the work from home thing, the one thing I do want to express to, my boss and, my CEO is that when the pandemic, we started
Mm-hmm.
to recover, we went back and we tried to hire those that we let go. And then the
Mm-hmm.
people that we did let go or the people that did agree to come back and work for us after we had let them go, the CEO gave them all bonuses
Oh, wow.
for coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bonus for working through the pandemic, but those that got their job was eliminated and then recovered,
Mm-hmm.
they got a bigger
Mm-hmm.
bonus.
Right.
That says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There was a level of care and compassion, and at least, thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of companies during this pandemic are not those companies, not that
Mm-mm.
company.
Yeah.
It's almost the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the work from home thing a little bit here. So what we discovered during the pandemic is, one, people don't necessarily need to work in an office anymore.
Yeah. Depending on the job.
Depending
My
on the
job
job.
will always require me to be, it's not something I can work from home. It's impossible for me to work my job from home. But when COVID hit, like there was a, what is it called? Is it furlough? Is that how you
Yeah,
would
it's a
phrase it?
furlough.
It's like you're still here, but like it's like you can't
Work.
you're still employed. We're not letting you go, but it's just like right now in this
Yeah.
period we can't pay you because of
You
there are no
weren't
funds.
technically, your job wasn't eliminated. You just weren't being able to do the job.
Right, because my pay is based off of like it's a service in a way, and so like they get the money, I do the thing, I get my
Right.
pay, you know what I mean? So if there's no money coming in, they can't
Now,
pay
this is
me.
interesting too, because the
So,
reason I'm going to guess there was no money coming in is because people were working from home and they no longer needed your services.
but also too, it was because like we had closed down because it was
Obviously.
you don't know, like the pandemic when you're working with children, it's like
Right. But I'm talking
we,
as the pandemic kind of like slowly kind of reneged and recovered,
mhm.
you find out, oh, more people are working. I'm going to guess that your attendance numbers dropped, not yours specific, but your students' attendance numbers dropped once working home kind of became a thing.
So when it so we closed completely, like you
Right.
couldn't bring your child in, but it when we had opened back up, I was still living with my parents at the time. So I had my dad was high risk, and so I had a conversation with my family, and they said like if you could just put it off a little bit, like don't go back to work just yet because the vaccine wasn't out yet
Right.
by that time. And so my parents had asked me like, could you just not go back for now until like things get kind of figured out or a vaccine becomes available? Because when you work with children, it's like, here's the germs from the school. Let me bring them home to my friends,
Yeah,
my family,
you're a
my
magnet.
this.
You're a magnet
Yeah,
for
and so
germs and stuff like that. So
yeah. So that's I didn't go back right away, but I kept in touch with a lot of coworkers.
yeah.
And the numbers were small right from the beginning. Very, very little. A lot of it based on like parents just were not ready, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't blame
It's
them.
understandable. Yeah.
Like some are still working from home, others just don't want to risk it, which I understand. Some had to go back to work, so they didn't really have a choice. But then I had returned like probably like not too long after my family was vaccinated, after I was vaccinated myself, and like felt more comfortable once we had like a better understanding
Mm-hmm.
of what it is, because I feel like all of 2020 it was just like a big question mark. By the time we get to like mid 2021, like even at like we know more, like
Yeah.
so
So
yeah, but that's where I was. So
yeah. So the people working from home.
yeah.
One thing I think we noticed, those individuals that were able to work from home, we noticed obviously unless your boss completely does not grasp what's going on, you find that employee productivity increases. The stress is relieved because one is traffic. They're not sitting on a freeway for an hour and a half,
Yeah.
2 hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they're able to function more comfortably because they're home,
Yes.
And then on top of that, you don't have the distractions that you do. You have a different set of potential distractions, but you don't have the distractions you experience in an office. You don't have the people walking up to your door. You don't have the water cooler or coffee pot talk that keeps you away from your workstation for X amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to, and then comfort. You're able to not have to wear a suit and tie. You don't have to, you're comfortable in your home, right?
Yeah.
So people's productivity goes up. Some of it didn't.
Right. Nothing's gonna be perfect.
This comes down to personal, personal morale and personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Your own personal ability to be responsible, your own personal responsibility. I'm working from home. I have a job to do still. I can't just sit and, nap all day and da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I have job to do. I take my job seriously. I do my job to, the best of my ability, and I worked. So I give this perfect example of this is because when I did my, my review, the first year of the pandemic, after the first year of the pandemic, I did my review, my productivity almost doubled just by being at home. And they was like, well, what's going on? What do you think it is? And I said, well, I'm home. I'm comfortable. My mental health. I'm not dealing with the people that upset me in the office every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm not dealing with any of that. I'm able to just sit and focus and work and do my job. And I get it done faster because I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm not stuck in an office and then I drag my work out for the whole day,
Yeah.
you know, just to,
Mm-hmm.
because I stop working and I get a few minutes to sit and just kind of breathe. And then I'm like, well, I'm stuck in this office,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm home, I can go outside and I can have coffee and I can work
Right.
and, get fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
Productivity goes up. I can listen to the radio or listen to what I want to in my own home
Mm-hmm.
while I work.
Yeah.
Productivity goes up when you're comfortable. Any boss
Mm-hmm.
that has common sense, or any CEO or manager or whatever that has common sense, will notice these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the other part of it. People that got stuck in the position of the pandemic and no longer had their jobs, they realized the job I have probably wasn't that great to begin with. And then now
Mm-hmm.
we've discovered this is where the internet comes into play. The internet has opened up so many different opportunities for how people can work and make money and make income.
Mm-hmm.
People started making YouTube videos. I'll give clean cut examples of this. A guy is a sales guy at so and so. He starts a TikTok account about sales, starts a YouTube
Right.
channel about how to sell things. Building up his confidence. Personal
Mm-hmm.
trainers. This was also very common. Personal trainers that can't be in a gym anymore. They start up YouTube
Yeah.
channels
Mm-hmm.
and they start turning videos on personal training and workout regimens and stuff like that. And they're getting paid. They're making money and they're working
Mm-hmm.
for themselves. The OnlyFans industry, or the sex worker industry, thrived during the pandemic. People were able to take
Mm-hmm.
control of their own lives and sell, whatever they wanted on their OnlyFans, their Fanslies, whatever it was, Twitch, YouTube. They could stream and, make income that way. Big gambles, big
Yeah.
gambles financially, but if they persevered enough and they made it work, they made it work.
Mm-hmm.
So now it comes down to the position of like, well, and then not to mention, I'm sorry, the side gigs.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm flipping stuff I'm finding at yard sales and all that stuff. Like, I'm flipping it and selling
Mm-hmm.
it online for X amount of dollars, I'm
Yeah.
making good income doing this, that kind of stuff. I'm finding a place I can review products and pay. I review products for X amount of dollars. I
Mm-hmm.
test products, QA test them, and I'm making X amount of
Mm-hmm.
dollars all from the comfort of my own home. Why am I going to go back to my Walmart job or my,
Yeah.
my job at McDonald's or whatever and get yelled at and abused by people, the general
Mm-hmm.
public, every day? Why am I going to do this
Right.
when I can make more money here?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the great resignation starts, where people are like, I don't have to put up with this anymore.
Right.
I'm going to gamble and I'm going to go do my own thing. And some people thrived in it. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
thrived in it, and they made careers for themselves, working for themselves, and no longer have to deal with this stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
know,
then there's also the other side of it too, where people might have just kind of hit a wall with it. Like you
right.
think about like Twitch, right? How
Mm-hmm.
it's already been saturated.
Yeah.
When COVID happened, I remember like my TikTok feed was like it used to make me like laugh a little bit, not to make fun of them, but do you remember like back in the day, like when we were streaming, like I make it sound really old, but people would be like, "Oh, like 5 tips to like grow your Twitch audience." And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing TikToks of streamers that started like years later from me.
Yeah.
They were newbie streamers and they're creating like your 5 tips to get more viewers on Twitch, and I'm like looking at it and I'm like, this has become saturated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but some people did really well, like you said, but then there are going to be others that face like sometimes the hard reality of it's not always going to play
Well, it
out like
got
you hope.
difficult. I think things like the social media sphere got difficult because you
Mm.
had celebrities that weren't able to do their jobs, like people in the UFC, the WWE,
Mm,
athletes, musicians. They couldn't go on tour, so they
mm,
would do concerts on Twitch and on YouTube and stuff
yeah,
like that, in-house concerts and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
that diverted all the traffic from the people that would go watch people playing video games and
Mhm.
whatnot, and diverted all that traffic to those celebrity accounts and made it
I
difficult.
can't remember if this was during COVID, but I think it was like Bella Thorne had opened up like an OnlyFans
Oh
or something,
yes.
or but
And
I can't remember if that was during COVID. But you saw the backlash. I remember seeing like this stuff online of people saying like you already make a lot of money as a celebrity. Like
yeah.
you already a millionaire, whatever it is. And you're coming into this space where people are making trying to make their money, and you're taking away the money in a
Right.
way. You know what I mean? So,
It's almost
but yeah,
like
I
the
thought about that
spirit of
too.
competition just gets thrown out the window
Yeah.
when you're invading my
Yeah.
territory, right? Which,
Yeah. Mhm.
she's, and the reality of it is she did the exact same thing you did. She's like, I don't have to do this anymore. I can go do this for
Yeah.
myself and make more money.
Mhm.
You can't argue it. Like, you can't
Yeah.
falter.
Right.
And that's the thing, we're learning that too. So, like, yes, the great resignation, people have taken it's employee empowerment. Not only that,
Mhm.
we're seeing the people
Mhm.
like at Amazon warehouses and stuff where that place just completely just maximized profits because it was all delivery.
Mhm.
And those warehouse workers were just getting beat to the ground. Our healthcare workers beat to the ground. No appreciation, no
Mhm.
income, no stipends for working during the pandemic. None of that. It's just like, hey, be
Mhm.
thankful you're working.
Yeah.
you know Employee appreciation out the window. I can't say completely out the window. That's not true.
Right.
I can't prove it, at least. But like
Right.
things like that, where it's just like, okay. And then people realize, like, I don't have to put up with this Amazon crap anymore. Or people that work at like Walmart and McDonald's.
Mhm.
They're like, you know what? If I'm
Mhm.
going to get used and abused here, I might as well just do it at Amazon and make more money.
Mhm. And from all this, we're starting to see like maybe some of like you who works like a 9 to 5, people that have to go back to the office now. They
Hmm.
don't really have a choice. It's like, okay, I got to go back to the office. We're seeing the trend of quiet quitting,
Right.
which is people are realizing they've had the taste of working from home, but now
Right.
they're back in the office and they're just doing, I don't even want to say the bare minimum, but maybe that's the best term for this in this case. Like they're doing what is required of them and that's it.
Right.
You're not
The
gonna see
term
them
of
go above
quiet.
and
Yeah.
beyond. Like, you're
Right.
not gonna see them stay late. You're not gonna see them take calls on the weekend. Like, they're like, "I've done my time, did my 9 to 5, did all the work you wanted me to do. Goodbye. Have a nice night." Like, and now companies are getting irritated with that. And so, like, we're seeing, like, there's I don't know if he's a CEO. He was the guy on Shark Tank. Do you know which one I'm talking about? The
You're
bald
talking
guy?
Kevin Leary.
I don't know if
I
that's who
think
it is, but
yeah, the
he's
bald one.
yeah, but he's having issues with quiet quitting, and he's like, "I don't want people like that working for me." And it's like I can understand if you own a business and that is your baby, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But your employees, not all of them are going to be martyrs for their job. I'm sorry.
Yeah, none. No, very few are.
Yeah, very few are. You might got some like employees that are just very like, "Yeah, let's do it. Like, I love this job. I'll die for this job. I'll work." Like, no, qualms about it. If you want to do that, then go ahead and do it. But you can't expect the vast majority of other people to be like, I will live, breathe, and die for company XYZ. Like, my motto has always been, if I die tomorrow, my job wouldn't do this because like I know like my
Yeah.
boss and everything, but like let's say I worked for like Amazon, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a pretty good example. If I died tomorrow and worked for Amazon, Amazon would probably already be like, we got to find someone to fill her
Right.
spot.
If anything, if you hear about how Walmart
Yeah.
had like some Walmarts had like life insurance policies on their employees.
Really?
Yeah, it's wild.
What the
Like they
heck?
died and the Walmart got paid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
What
isn't
the
that disgusting and scummy? So like, okay, let's go back to this Kevin Leary thing, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
he comes out and he says like, I don't want employees like that. I want the best of the best. I want the overachievers. I want the drivers. Yes, any company
Yeah.
successful CEO would want that.
Right.
But you have to understand, there's only a select few of those in the world.
Mhm.
Most of them and most of the people in the world, especially now, are the 9 to 5ers. This is my job. This is what I do. I come here and I do my job. You have me from 9 to 5, 8 to 4,
Mhm.
whatever, and you have me to the full extent. After that, I have a work-life balance. You
Mhm.
know, so the quiet quitting term
Um.
is this hot new trend. It's all over TikTok. It's all over your
Mhm.
YouTube. There's actually a great account on TikTok where she talks about this thing. She does these like role playing scenarios where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, you're on vacation, but I'm going to need you to take your work laptop with you to take calls.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking
Yeah.
about. You might have sent me those.
Yeah. And then she goes at the end of it, her tagline at the end is Toodaloo because she closes the
Yeah.
laptop lid or whatever. But
Mhm.
great account. If I remember the name, I'll tag it or whatever. But she goes on and she's like, hey, you need to take your work laptop with you. Well, she does this great thing where she's like,
Mhm.
you're going on vacation, but so and so fell out of the meeting tomorrow. I need you to lead this
Mhm.
meeting. I can't be at this meeting tomorrow. I need you to lead it. I'm on
Right.
vacation tomorrow. She's like, well, that's only a 3-hour meeting. It's not a big deal. And then she
Mhm.
goes, well, why? And then the boss is like, well, why did you just forward me your hotel receipt? And she says, oh, well, I'm reimbursed for work trips, right? And
Mhm.
she's like, what? Well, yeah, you just wanted me to do a 3-hour meeting on for my hotel on my vacation. I'm going to charge you for this hotel room. That kind of thing is
Mm-hmm.
what's pissing off these employers, because the
Right.
employees finally realizing, I don't need to put up with this kind of crap. I shouldn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now I'm gonna walk on eggshells with this.
Okay.
I don't fully believe in quiet quitting. I do believe in healthy work-life balances. I do believe in that, because I
Yes.
do hold to this belief. Like, if you do go, if you do make yourself, if you put
Mm-hmm.
yourself out there enough to where you
Mm-hmm.
do look like the person that wants it bad enough, your
Mm-hmm.
employees are going to recognize that. And the reason I say that is
Yeah.
because I was fortunate enough to that to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I made the changes I needed to make in the
Mm-hmm.
workplace, and they got noticed, and then I got, or I'm
Right.
in the process of being rewarded for it. So I can't fully say that the quiet quitting thing is I'm gung ho about it, because I do believe if you want something bad enough, you will take the proper steps to get there. But there's no
Yeah.
way in hell that I'm gonna let my boss make me do a 3-hour meeting while I'm on a pre-approved vacation. That's just not
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Right.
And I do
Yeah.
have reasonable expectations for myself. Like, for example, Pal graduated at 6:30 on Thursday. I told him
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving at 5. My girlfriend's graduating. I need to make sure I'm there. That is
Mm-hmm.
the priority of my day,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But I even went, I can go the extra mile and just say, hey, you know what? If some emergency happens after that time frame, shoot me a
Mm-hmm.
message.
Yeah.
But for this window, I'm out.
Yeah.
Don't expect to hear from me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing I tell them, listen, I'm going to be gone from this time to this time on this day,
Right.
you know? Or I'm honest with them, like, I won't be looking at email. I won't be looking at my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Realistic expectations for your work-life balance. Like, I have something to do. I'm not going to dedicate time to work to that.
Right.
What I did learn too, though, is when the 5 o'clock thing happens, I need to shut off and
Mm-hmm.
not bring work life into the personal life.
Mm-hmm.
The things that got to me at work during the day, I try to phase them out. Pound can attest to this. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm angry about what happened during the day or whatever, but I do my
Yeah.
best to not bring it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the healthy work-life balance you need to create for your life. But this idea that employers have, where it's like, you need to give me your life, your blood, your sweat, and your tears for me to even consider moving you
Mm-hmm.
anywhere within my company, is just
Right.
BS.
Yeah. And I will say too, I'm not, like I kind of agree with you with the whole. I don't necessarily agree with quiet quitting. I do it. It's a weird dance, right? Like, I don't think that it should be like a point where we just don't work hard, right? Or we
Right.
just don't put in an effort. But at the same time, I agree with what you're saying. Like, there needs to be like work life boundaries. There has to be clear boundaries. Like, and a lot of, like, for example, my boss asks that we don't do work stuff outside.
Right.
Like, I'm an hourly employee, like you're not, but I know that this coming week it might be is going to be a little hectic. So I brought some like stuff that I actually need to work on, but I don't have a problem doing it
Right.
because my boss has already come out and said, like, I don't want you guys, if you can do it while you're at work, I would rather you do
Right.
it at work. I'm looking at the situation where I was like, it's actually a little easier for me if I get it done here. It's not going to take me very long.
Right.
I don't have the distractions. And then,
Or it's
that's
one of
fine.
those things, it's like, I need to leave early on Friday, so I'm going to do this
Right.
now so I don't have to
Right.
rush it on Friday.
Right, exactly. Because like I know sometimes things happen, and I might not be able. This is something that I have to get done for my job, and so I'm like, I can do it while I'm at work, but I know I'm gonna run into this issue where I might be a little bit more stressed out. So let me do it now because like I have enough respect and admiration and like appreciation for like my bosses who work with me so well. Like, I was sick on Tuesday. I came into work because I knew we were short staffed,
Right.
and they sent me home. Not a lot of
Right.
places will do that. They were like, "Go home, you don't feel good." Like, a lot of places would be like, "Oh, you're here, you feel good enough to stay,"
Right.
And so it's in that relationship of this like mutual respect and like love. Like, and I say love because like you want to grow to love the people that you work with and care for them, and it's in that like I know that you love and appreciate me. I'm gonna try to do what I can. And there's this respect for like mutual boundaries and stuff like that.
Right.
Is it always going to be perfect? No, but in the days that I feel appreciated, they sent me home early on Tuesday. I was like, let me just bring some of this stuff home today so I can get it done on the weekend.
Right. And then that's one of those
And
things
it's
too, where it's like, if you are not a problem employee,
mhm,
they're not gonna. I would think, I'm gonna say, obviously there's variables in this case, but I'd always imagine, like, if you're not a problem employee, when you do have a problem, it's not an issue with your boss. Like you said, you're at work all the time. You call out 3 times in a year. You know, they can count out the number of times you called out on their hand, you know, and then
I
they're like,
probably
oh,
called out a little bit more, but
yeah,
they're
but you
still
see what
good
I'm
with
getting at?
me.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're sick. Okay, we get it. You
Yeah.
rarely ever call out. You very rarely ever leave early. You know, you're sick. Go home.
Yeah.
You're
And they know I'm pregnant too. So they're
right.
looking at it too. Like Hannah, like my boss, she'll come up to me and she's like, "How are you feeling? Like, how have you been doing like with, with your pregnancy?" And I feel comfortable enough to be honest with her about it and be like, it was hard in the beginning, but I have a lot of energy
Yeah.
now. And also too, like I feel appreciated by like my coworkers. They held like a bridal shower for me. They're excited that the baby's coming. Like it's very
Right.
like when you feel nurtured, like yes, the pay might not be there, but like I will work hard and I'm willing to go a little bit more for like I'm willing to go a little further because you make me feel good and appreciated. And
Right.
sometimes for a lot of employees, like if companies would just realize this, like while we should be raising pay, it should be an issue of like let's stop like inflation, everything like that. But if a company really cannot raise money, you do what you can to make your employees feel like I appreciate you, and not with a pizza party. Like I think we've all
Right.
had enough pizza parties in our lifetime, but like a genuine like I love managers that really connect with their staff.
Yeah.
I don't like managers that sit in an office and they don't care, they don't this, they don't. As a manager, you're a leader, and that means that you're supposed to be humble and you're supposed to empower your team. Leaders, what's that phrase? Leaders don't like pull you from the front; they stand behind you and they push you
Right.
like forward. And
Right.
so I feel like it's not a difficult concept. It's not, rocket science. It's people respond. You think of a child. If a child brings you a drawing and it's a, weird looking drawing, but you say, "Hey, good job. I really appreciate that." You will see a child light up. We're not that different from children,
Right.
to be
It's
honest.
like when
We
I
want
do, right.
acceptance, we want love, we want recognition. Like,
I do a good job at work and I get some praise
yeah.
for it. I feel
Yeah.
good about it and it makes me want to go do, you know,
Mhm.
I've developed this relationship to my boss right now. It's like where I can have like full disclosure discussions with them because
Mhm.
obviously when I with work, like I mental health, I've been working at the same place for as long as I was doing Twitch.
Mhm.
All the mental health issues and all that stuff. You know where I'm getting at. So like I got to
Yes.
the point with full disclosure with my boss. I was like, look, you know, I'm doing better now. And it's like I did some therapy and I'm starting to work on mental health and all that kind of stuff. And like that's a big
Mhm.
thing right now that I'm working through. And I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. And it's
Mhm.
full disclosure. And I've gotten to the point now where I tell my boss, I'm like, mentally, dude, this is not working for me today. Like I'll tell him, I'll be
Mhm.
like, I'm miserable today because this isn't right.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. Let's get through it. And then we'll, you know,
Mhm.
hopefully next week is better. Like we'll work through it, you know, at
Yeah.
least there's some care and I'm very fortunate for the bosses I do have because there is at least some level of concern and compassion for
Mhm.
when things aren't right. You know,
Mhm.
we just had somebody leave the company. They leave in a week. And the answer was, um, well, I'll go with this way. So he's leaving the company. And let's basically, there was no, you know, there was no discussions of, you know, maintaining or anything because he wanted to be a father. He says, I just want to go
Yeah.
be a father.
Mhm.
And you can't argue with that. You know,
No.
I get it. A good boss would be like, you know what? Go be a dad.
Yeah.
You know, go be a dad.
Mhm.
There was, you know, no desperate pleas of like, you can't do this to us. Da, 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 da. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what? Go be a dad.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. You know, it's a good thing. You know, it's not like you're
Mhm.
bullshitting to go travel for a year or whatever. It's like, you know, I want to go be a father.
Mm.
I just had a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing. Okay, cool. You know,
Mhm.
it's a level of respect because this is just a two-way relationship. You just can't sit there and it's like it's a relationship. It's like I can't go to my girlfriend, do the bare minimum, and
Mhm.
then expect her to go above and beyond for me. That's not how this
Yeah.
works. You know,
Yeah.
we work together and we find this mutual ground and we work together and we excel each
Mhm.
other. Because I guarantee you, some of these people that are all on this quiet quitting train or whatever, they're the
Mhm.
ones that are like, well, fuck him. He doesn't pay me enough. Blah, 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 blah. Why should I care? Da, 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 da. He's the rich, filthy CEO. I'm doing the bare minimum
Mhm.
because he's rich. I don't need him. Or like, he, you
Mhm.
know, like I'm just making him more money. Like it doesn't work that way. Plus, on top of that, I have a personal pride syndrome I have where I feel like if I'm not doing the job to the best that I can, I feel like I didn't do well.
Mhm. Right.
You know, I have some pride in myself and what I put out in the world,
Mhm.
you know, and that's where I
Yeah.
like, I'm half and half on the quiet quitting thing.
Mhm.
I'm half and half on
I
it.
I am I am too, because I feel like there are people that might not take that might not want to work hard,
Right.
right? And life is hard work. Like life in general, you can't avoid hard work.
Right.
Um but at the same time, like, I don't appreciate like companies looking at people as transactional. Like,
Right.
here's your
Or just
paycheck. Like,
a cog in the wheel.
right. And it's like what we're seeing now is, I don't know if you've seen this. Like, you see a lot of companies like this, like Google, Microsoft, where they're creating like kind of like the tech millennial like offices where like you get free lunch, free breakfast, free dinner. And I always thought stuff like that was so cool. They have a lounge, you can drink
Hmm.
alcohol. And what that's actually what I've been told, and I don't know how true this is, but I'd have to double check it, is companies are doing that now with the gym and the home theater because they want you to stay on property longer.
Right. It's
You don't need to go to the gym at 6. Just come to work and you can use the in-house gym. You don't have to go home and make dinner. Stay here, work while you have your dinner. Like,
well, here's
yeah,
the thing, like the
yeah,
work expectation versus reality, right? I
yeah.
always knew
Hmm.
from the beginning when I saw the Googleplex and all that kind of stuff and all the cool stuff
Right.
that they offered, I knew that this is one of
Hmm.
those things where it's like, yes, you're getting all these free amenities or whatever, but you're working your ass off when you're here.
And I didn't get that at first. I always thought, like, look how they're investing.
Oh
Like, because it
yeah.
looks so shiny and like cool. Like, my job doesn't have all that nice stuff. Like, I would love that. And then when you start to kind of research it and look into it a little bit, you're like, wait, they want you
Oh yeah.
to stay at all times.
They want you to have that
Like,
warm and fuzzy feeling of like, hey, we can make
yeah.
this as comfortable as your home.
Hmm.
This warm and fuzzy feeling. And well, no, someone in the chat, pal in the chat here just said played ourselves. I was like, no one played me. I knew very well what was happening when they were doing this stuff, when this stuff first came around.
I didn't. I played myself. I was like, I want to go work at Google. Like,
I would have loved to work there, you know. And I'm
hmm,
not to say I'll never work for one of those places. The Microsoft one is
hmm,
cool because they have like treehouse offices. I've been getting
yeah.
obsessed with these videos where it's like a day in the life of a software engineer at Microsoft or Amazon or whatever.
Yeah, that's how I've seen that stuff as a day in the life.
Microsoft has treehouse like offices, like,
Hmm.
and you climb into this treehouse and it's all outside, and I'm like, that's the coolest shit, you know?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
There was one girl I saw where she was like, I think she worked at Microsoft. And she's like showing like the different like she's like, here I am in the cafeteria getting my breakfast for the
Yeah.
day. And then like for snack, she gets like an apple with like a Reese's peanut butter cup and it's all free. And at me, the foodie, I'm like,
Hell yeah.
candy. I'm like, food. Like they make you like pasta and you get to go and take a walk. And then I took my 15-minute break at the gym today. And then I went to the work locker room so I could shower and blah 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 and get ready. And now I'm just like, you might as well just get a bed there at this point. Like, and they probably would let you live there. They'd probably be like, sure,
Oh
if
yeah,
it keeps
sure.
you here on
So plug
property.
in. Or
Or the
let's
ones
go.
that have like the napping pods. Have you seen that? They'll have
Yeah.
like a nap room with like that. And I'm just like, what?
What was I gonna say? Oh, and then like they do this a lot too. So like this starts at, what's it called? This starts at the high school level, recruitment level for high school and colleges and stuff like that. Have you ever watched some of the videos they have with the internship packages? Like the
Mm-mm.
welcome packages from internship. Now this is very, very clever. And I'll put it this way. So like, for example, a company like Apple, right?
Right.
Their internship welcome packages, they give you like a pair of AirPods. They give you a water bottle with the Apple logo on it. They don't give you just any water bottle. They give you a Hydro Flask or a Yeti with those are expensive. Those are
I know, like,
$50 bottles, right? But
I've
it
been
gives
wanting to get one of
but
those.
it's a tactic.
Hmm.
Okay, they didn't just give me a cheap eBay water bottle. They gave me a Hydro Flask or they gave me a Yeti.
Yeah.
These are expensive. It's a sign that they're spending money on me.
Hmm.
The Apple hoodie is from like, I don't know, whatever company makes these hoodies, right? Like this is from this. It's a
Like
Lululemon.
Nike or something. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like an
And like
Apple hoodie, but it's a Lululemon Apple hoodie.
and you didn't spend a dime on it.
Right.
Like I would fall for it. Like I would literally be like, oh, look at this. Like I can't buy this with my regular money. Like,
Right, and it's a
look at how
tactic to
fancy
get
this
you.
is.
It's a tact. Yes, it's exactly wine and dine. and like, hey, we want you to
Hmm.
work here for the rest of your life, you know?
It's like love bombing,
Right.
like a
Yeah.
toxic,
I love you.
like
I
here are the
care about you. I
flowers
want
and
you
this. I
here.
bought you all of this, and then like as you get into the relationship, you're like, what is going on?
Right. I'm
Like,
here all the time. I hardly see my wife or my kids. Da 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 da. You
yeah.
know, like, but whereas me, I don't really fall for that stuff anymore. I'm kind of like, okay, let's talk about my 5-year plan. Let's talk about what
Hmm.
I get in terms of compensation, vacation, all
Right.
that kind of stuff. Because it's again, I always tell because Pal's been looking for work, right? And I was like, you
Hmm.
need to treat it like this is not like you're trying to get a retail job. This is like your
Yeah.
career. You need to treat it like you're dating. You know,
Hmm.
is this job a fit for me? Do I want to be here for several years? Do I want to
Right.
be here for long term, right? Like what
And
are my
like, what are your hard no's? Like, what is something you absolutely,
right, what are my
if you're,
opportunities here?
yeah.
You know, not cuz and it's more than just what you're going to pay me,
Hmm.
you know, like it's like what you know, what kind of fulfillment, what kind of work-life balance do I get in a place like this? This is all the stuff the Great Resignation has unlocked. Like, this is the Pandora's box that's been opened with all this. People are starting to
Hmm.
look deep into these companies and realize, like, oh, it might not be that great. I can work for myself and do this and that and this. Working hard for yourself is also incredibly difficult. That's a
Oh
strong
yeah.
misconception that social media gives.
Hmm.
You look at these guys that are like, oh yeah, during the pandemic, I'm not gonna name names, but people don't know who I'm talking about. Oh, I went to this yard sale and I bought this pack of Pokemon cards for $3 and I flipped it on eBay for 500.
Yeah.
Stop sitting at work in an office, go out there and start flipping stuff to sell online. Blah 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 blah. Number one, you know who I'm talking about.
I think, can I message you on
The
Discord to see if
initials are
it's
GV.
okay? It's the same person I'm talking about. I'm
You know,
thinking
that's
about.
that thing where it's like, do this, 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 and this, and you will get this. And then like they don't factor in the thing. Like number one, that's become very, very saturated. You go to a
Oh
Goodwill now,
yeah.
you know how many people are racking through the clothing racks trying to find stuff.
Or the
And
books. Have you heard the whole Amazon FBA thing where people are
mhm,
buying books, sending them to Amazon? And like it sounds great in hindsight, but again, saturated. That's like the double kind of like
right.
edged sword of social media. It's if you see it, it's on your For You page, it's viral.
Right.
Millions of other people have
Start
already
doing
seen
it.
it and
And then
tried
there's
it.
these people, what do?
Yeah.
They go to like TJ Maxx and then they scan it and like, oh, I can sell this for
Yeah.
$50. No one's
Yeah.
buying it for $50 on Amazon. You know, they're
Yeah.
going to TJ Maxx and buying it for 15. Now, here's the other thing that we didn't factor into this flipping market thing, right?
Hmm.
The places are catching on. Goodwill's catching on. Goodwill's like, we'll just
Yeah.
open our own storefront. Why do we lose that
Yeah.
cash?
Yeah.
It,
And it's hurting people that actually need Goodwill.
yeah, it's hurting the
Like,
people that actually need Goodwill. And I'll be straight honest with you. I did a lot of video game trading and all that kind of stuff through the help of Goodwill. Like I would
mhm,
go, this was 5, 6, probably almost 10 years
yeah.
ago when stuff was easier to find.
Hmm.
In the 10 years I've doing it, I've probably only had 6 or 7 finds that equated to truly good profit.
Hmm.
You know, it's rare. So there's that factor in it. Now let's look at the other factor of this here as we wind down this episode. So now we're back on this whole thing. So now, obviously, the economy's starting to strike back.
Hmm.
So you had some stats first. Before we go into the economy striking back here, you had some stats here. What's the research say about all this quiet quitting scenario?
So the one I found, this is the UK, but I figured it would probably be like fairly close.
Fairly,
Like
yeah.
the research is still coming out about the United States at the moment, but it talks about like um 4-day work weeks, right? Like we didn't really brush on it, but like some
Mm-hmm.
companies are going down to 4-day work weeks to, lessen the load on our employees and whatnot. So it says here that 51% of employees say that they can do their job to the full extent in 40 hours or less. So you are part of the you are part of that 51% that says that I can do that and more.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're saying 49% are actually saying that they can't from home. So if these statistics hold up in the United States, is it worth companies to be like, let's have them work from home, or let's have them work like on a 4-day work week? Like I thought that it would be more overwhelming. That I always thought that more employees would say that they can do their full extent in less than 40 hours, like if they're
Yeah.
working from home. But we're seeing it almost half are saying, no, I need the 40 hours or more, or I need to be in the office, or
Yeah.
whatever the case is. So it's actually half. 85% say a 4-day work week is logistically possible for them. So logistically, so
Yeah.
what is that? What would that include?
Logistically possible means
Like,
like I can get my kids to school, I can pick them up, I
yeah,
can do this, I can do that, I can get through all my life
yeah,
functions or my,
right,
my life responsibilities in a 40-hour or in a 4-day work
right.
week.
So the majority say that they can. It's possible for them logistically, but
Yeah,
that doesn't include the the fullest extent of doing your workload. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, yeah, I can work from home or I can do that. 85% say I can, but I can't. 49% say I can't necessarily do it to like 100% of like what you're expecting me.
Does it give a
Now,
reasoning? Is there any kind of like graph or anything that documents the reasoning why they couldn't
I
accomplish it?
sent you these are like the bullet points right now.
Let me see here real
Um,
quick.
yeah, it's the first one
I
link.
kind of grazed over this, but I'm gonna look at this real quick here.
94% said a 4-day work week would be a benefit that they would enjoy. So vast majority are saying, I would love this. Like,
Yeah.
I want this. Um, this was what was interesting. 28% of full-time employees would accept a pay cut in exchange for a 4-day work week.
Huh.
So that's not, most people are not willing to go with the pay cut. Understandably, like you don't, if you're making like 1,500 in 1 week and all of a sudden you're going to go down to like 13, 12, like that's going to be a
Ah,
big pay.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd take a pay cut for a 4-day work
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't
Um,
make that doesn't make feasible
it's
sense to
not as
me.
overwhelming as I thought it would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was almost of the mind of like, oh, the research is going to show like, yeah, like I was kind of on your side of like your productivity doubled. So I was kind of like, yeah, a lot of people's productivity is going to double. And it's not, I mean, this is the UK study. Like I have to try to find like US studies, but maybe it's not as vast as we thought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
it's a hard thing to grasp, or it's a hard thing to kind of equate to, because the US, or I'm sorry, the UK has a very different outlook on how they work.
right.
They're Europeans have a completely different. Yeah, I just learned we picked up a company in Canada, and their work ethics and stuff are completely different from the US's.
Hmm.
They really do live on the, hey, 9 to 5, I'm out,
Right.
type of thing. The whole thing that they can't do it is very interesting to me.
Hmm.
Like, I can't do it. Like, I'm like, well, why? Like, why couldn't you? I'm not saying you can't,
Hmm.
like, for whatever reason you can't, and I learned this a lot too. Like, we had a lot of employees that couldn't handle working from home because, their families were there also. They had screaming
Right.
kids. They had a wife that was like, hey, can you go fix the sink? Well, I'm working,
Right.
like that kind of stuff. Like,
Do you want this is like a little side fun fact. Do you know how many teachers I've talked to that have told me that like when they were doing virtual learning, they saw so many parents walk around their house butt naked.
what?
Like, yeah, or like parents like drinking in the background, like while their kids like learning like their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and these parents are just, and so but
That's
that
so
plays a factor in it.
sad.
Like you're saying, like that's like a factor of what you're saying. Like not everybody has the environment to properly work from
Right.
home or anything like
Yeah, like
that.
I
You know what
get
I
it.
mean?
Like it happens. I understand.
Mhm.
We had a guy, he was like, I'm coming into the office. I know we're on hybrid. So full disclosure, my office is on hybrid. I go to work in the office a couple days a week, the rest I'm at home.
Mhm.
And most of our employees now are set up in any way to where they can go to any office and work.
Mhm.
So let's say, for example, you need to go visit your parents that are 100 miles away. If we have an office over there and
Mhm.
you still want to work, you can go to that office and work. It's
Right.
configured to work. We went to that model.
Mhm.
Um So like we had a guy, he was like, we picked up the company and he started working for. He's like, I'm coming in 5 days a week, and he's like, I got 3 kids and a wife, dude. He's like, I'm coming in every day. We're just like, okay, dude. Like if your
Yeah.
manager approves it, go for it. You know,
Mhm.
but yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like he just wanted the quiet of his office, like at work.
For some people it's an escape.
Yeah.
One of my coworkers like before she had worked with me, she was like just home all the time and it was driving her insane and she's like I need to like just pick up a job. And so she picked up the job that we have and like working 40 hours a week. And even though it's stressful, she's like, honestly, I just can't be home. She's like, it's too quiet. Like
Yeah.
I need to be doing, and
Hustle and
I'm like
bustle.
that way too. Like I've always thought like when this baby comes, do I want to, if our income's worked, like I would like to stay home with my child. But if it doesn't work out, like Or if I had, my thing is I would love to do it like part-time,
Hmm.
like part-time daycare, part-time staying at home, because one, like I know that it would drive me insane to be at home all the time. But at the same time, like it would also really make me sad to always be at work and not be with my son.
Right. Which is what
So
my
it's
coworker was experiencing.
oh really?
Yeah.
It's that
Like,
like
he,
separation
yeah,
anxiety.
saying separation anxiety,
Mhm.
and, a lot of it had to do with his upbringing, like his upbringing. He's like, I didn't always see my dad and stuff like that. He's like, I don't want that for my kid. I want to be there for my kid and stuff like, and it was totally understandable
Right.
story. I totally understood it and I respected it, and I'm like, yeah, dude, go do your thing. That sounds like you need to do that, go do your
Yeah.
thing. So like, it's wild. So like now we are in this position of like the economy starting to strike back.
Mhm.
We're in a whole record inflation thing, right? All this kind of stuff. And now people are running into this position where it's like, oh, maybe I can't resign from what I'm doing. Maybe I do need to be here, and this
Mhm.
always happens. This
Yeah.
always happens. The economy, I think in the end, the economy always wins. You know,
Capitalism.
they're the house. The economy's
It
the
always
house, and the
pops
house
off.
never
Yeah.
loses.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're in a position where it's like, oh, I'm not making it. We're seeing this with Twitch. If I don't know if you knew, but like Twitch did pay cuts for the broadcasters.
Yes, you were telling me that.
Yeah. Now it's down to 50-50 from 70-30 for some of these live making.
Does that include people that have already established like the 70-30 split?
If they already have in their contract,
Yeah.
it's 70-30 applies up to the first, I think, 100 grand, and then it drops to 50-50.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that they would
So
keep that
up to
just
your first revenue of 70, or up to 100 grand in revenue, you're getting 70-30. And then
Mhm.
after that, it's 50-50. Anything over 100K is a 50-50 split. And that's only for the people that had that 70-30 contract in place.
So like the ninjas and the Dr. Lupos
Yeah, and
of
all that stuff.
Twitch, like yeah.
Now that's not the case. Or
Mhm.
now it's like no new partner gets it. Every new partner is 50-50. So like now that
Mhm.
economy's striking where it's like, oh, well then now I'm
Right.
not able to make as much money here. I think
Mhm.
OnlyFans did a cut for thing. They still have one of the one of the lowest cuts in the business, but they
Mhm.
did, adjustments to theirs and stuff like
Right.
that. The economy's starting to come back now where it strike back a little bit. And now, like you said,
Mm.
we're starting to see saturation in all these markets. Like, oh, I'm just going to flip stuff online. Now the
Right.
saturation's there.
Yeah.
And that's getting affected now. The goodwill of the world's like, oh, we don't need these people taking revenue from us. We'll just start our own
Mhm.
store.
Yeah.
We'll put all the good
What's
stuff
in
in there.
So if you think of like the whole quiet, I feel like quiet quitting is the result of people realizing that I have to go back to my 9 to 5. Like I don't have a choice. Like maybe my Twitch thing's not working. Maybe my this is not working. Like, but I have to work. I have to pay bills. I have to put food on the table.
I don't think
But
it's all doom
I'm
and
gonna
gloom where it's like I have to go back, but you definitely have to sit
right,
now and think of. We talked about this
right,
on
right.
GFGG, where you have to
Yeah,
talk and think about it and be like, well, now I need to figure out what other revenue streams I can bring in if I want to maintain this lifestyle
right,
that I have.
right, right. Or like if let's say for in my case Twitch didn't work out.
Hmm.
It wasn't something that I want to put the energy for, or like, and so there was this moment where I'm like, I have to go back and find a job. Like, as much as like I like this freedom, I have to find a job.
Right.
And then like there are going to be people that go and they find that job and they're like, maybe they miss the freedom of Twitch or maybe they miss the freedom of content creation and they go, you know what, I'm just here to make a paycheck. Like I'm just going to work 9 to 5 but I'm not going to give you anything extra. There are a lot of reasons for quiet quitting. There's like not feeling appreciated. There's probably like I'm just trying to make ends meet. I
Yeah.
don't care. I'm not trying to be. There are different reasons to why people quiet quit, but
The other thing
I
I'm
think
noticing too is like some of these
mhm,
that did the quiet quitting thing or they did the resignation and they pursued social media or whatever, as they're finding out that it didn't work out in their favor,
mhm,
and then they have to go get a real job. But I think the real end of it is like you have these influencers and creators, that's all they know. That's all they've known
mhm,
for the past 12 years of their careers. They're in their mid 30s now or early 30s.
mhm,
They started when they were late teens, early 20s when YouTube
mhm,
started, and they did that their whole career. And then now they're finding out that they're not bringing in the revenue they were doing because they've either, been slowly
mhm,
like phased out or the content changed and the revenue's not the same, or, this time has moved on and,
right,
other content creators have taken their place in what they do. These creators that have been doing this for over a decade are in this position now. Like, I have no job skills. I have no
mm,
real education to do
mm,
anything other than what I've been doing for the past 10 years. And now they're in this position of like, I'm doing everything I can in my power to not have to go get a real job because I don't know how to do a real job.
Right.
You know, and yes, there's that argument. Well, content creation is a real job. I'm talking a 9 to 5, you know, working for somebody else. I respect
Yeah.
the people that do it and make it work. And I understand the work like that goes into it. Promoting and visiting other people's streams, maintaining relationships and friendships and all that kind of stuff.
It's
You know,
exhausting.
it's exhausting. And then you have to maintain and keep it up and keep meeting new people and fulfillment
And
of
it sometimes
contracts.
doesn't even guarantee
Yeah. Doesn't guarantee
money.
anything.
Yeah.
So then,
Doesn't
you know, these people,
guarantee
that's
that.
all they know. Also, all I've done for 12 years is make YouTube videos. What do I do now? Like, how do I even work for a real job? How do I work for somebody else?
This is a little off topic, but I think it could kind of play into this too. And we're also seeing very out of touch influencers. Like you're saying, people that are, I don't know how familiar you are with Michaela. She's like a makeup person on TikTok. She's got that like thick Boston accent. I guess like cancel culture had grabbed a hold of her. There was like an out of context clip. I watched it. I didn't take offense to it because I got the sense that she was just saying it out of frustration. But like, you know how the internet is, they'll grab something
The
and they'll be
20
like,
seconds out of a
death
2-minute.
to you. I know. And so like I looked at it as this girl that was probably just like having a bad day, right? But essentially the clip was her saying like I just finished work at 5:19. Try being an influencer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, even at first when I saw, I was like, girl, I was like, you really did just not compare like influencing and content creation to like somebody that's working like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, and you know, I took a second because I don't like to get heated over
Right. You walk
internet
away
things
and then
when
come
you
back.
don't know. Like, you know, she could have been having a bad day. We all do it, you know? I'm not going to judge
She
someone's
probably said it
character
when
off
Twitch
of
cut
like,
her revenue.
yeah. So, well, it's TikTok. So, but I could understand. It's like the Kim Kardashian thing. A lot of people were coming out and saying like, you make more money in one post than I do in a year.
Right. In my
I'm
lifetime.
a doctor. I'm
Some
a
it's
nurse.
a lifetime.
Right. I'm a teacher. And you put, and like the argument was like, you do makeup, you do all these influencing, you probably get like 50 grand for one post, maybe even more. And I'm sitting here slaving away, getting off of work at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I wake up and so, you know, that a lot of people are, I was telling someone this, are getting so sick of the influencer culture because we're creating like this.
I'm getting over it too.
And we're creating like a bunch of little egos. Like people have like all these, they're like, I'm this, like I'm famous. I know what I'm doing. And it's like, I don't know who you are. Like, be humble, like sit down. Like, you're seeing influencers that are like emailing hotels saying like, if you give me a free stay, I'll promote your hotel. Like, or if you give me a free meal at this like 5-star restaurant, I will promote. And it's like the ego that comes with that. Like to think that you are above. I think influencers, yes, they're the current celebrity of like the world now, but I feel like it's going down because people loved content creation because they loved relatability. But now what we're seeing is like the Charlie D'Amelios of the world and the, you know, the Jake Pauls and everything. It's okay. At once they might have been relatable. Small town girl living with her family. And now it's something that we're all people are looking at and they're like, I can't relate to this. Now you're out of touch. And so I believe that there's a downfall of the influencer.
Oh yeah, it's a downfall.
Like,
the problem with the companies have finally grasped onto this influencer culture. Like, oh, we can get these YouTube people or whatever. So like, for example, the Addison Rays or whatever of the world. So they're finding out, the companies are finding out it's cheaper. They're a cheaper, they have a smaller dent in the marketing budget than someone like a Kim Kardashian would. Because like say, for example, Sephora wants Kim Kardashian to do a commercial for them, right? They've got to not only pay Kim Kardashian millions of dollars, but they have to fly her down. They have to cover her expenses. They have to get her the nice hotel. They have to get her the dog spa and all this crap, right?
Yeah.
Whereas someone like an Addison Rae, they can give her, you know, $100,000, and then she's only got to do a 3-minute video that's going to reach millions of people.
Yeah.
In one shot.
Saving companies so much money for little effort.
Yeah.
We're going to give the influencer the job to edit their own videos, to film it. We just tell them what we want.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a marketing budget of like, oh, well, we can get, we can get 5 influencers for we can get 5 high-end influencers for the cost of a Kim Kardashian or a Kanye West or something like that. It
Yeah.
makes total sense. But like you said, we foster these little brats that are like, oh, I'm so and so and I do this, that, this, and this. And oh my God, I went to this cafe the other day to get powdered dinner after graduation, right?
Yeah.
You can see it's LA, it's downtown LA, right? It's across the street
I'm
from
like, you're living right in that culture.
I'm reading right in the bullshit.
Yeah.
So like you go and like the girls and stuff that walk into these things, I'm telling you this before we wind down here, the funniest story. I went in there to get Pow food, right? And this girl came in and she looked like she had that influencer look on her face, right? She's like, do you guys have decaf coffee? This was like 9:00 at night. So it's on her case. She wants a decaf coffee. I understand, right? The guy's like, I'm sorry, we don't sell that. The look of disgust on her face when she was leaving, she was like, God forbid, they have regular coffee and it's regular milk. Then she would have really flipped her shit, But it's like, come on, dude. Like,
Yeah. And I don't want to generalize by any means, but like almost kind of like the stereotype of the influencer is my best friend and I, we went to go get like a bagel and a coffee, right? And the girls in front of us were doing like TikTok dances like while they were waiting for their food. And so I'm look, I don't want to judge a group of teenagers or like young adults. Like, look, I was probably cringy in my millennial days, like I get it. So I was just like, whatever, they're doing their thing. But I was always someone that was brought up with like just decent respect, right? And so like at one point, like we were all leaving and my friend, she had held the door open for them. And not one, there's like a group of 4 of them and they just looked at her and they just walked through the door. And I'm thinking like, not that we need the thank you, but it's like simple things like that kind of tell me where your head's at.
Yeah.
Like how you see yourself. Like just, oh, thank you. No, thank you. Just like
a bubble, it's a bubble that these people live in. We went to, Pal and I were driving down Melrose, which is in Hollywood here. And Melrose, if you don't know, Melrose is like this strip where there's like vintage stores and like really quiche, it's like the high-end, one of the high-end fashion parts of LA where you get the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
You've probably seen it on Instagram. I don't know, but there's like this pink wall that a ton of influencers.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The pink wall,
distinct.
Right? It's in LA. Yeah. It's on Melrose. Me and Pau drove by and we saw the line.
Didn't you take a picture of that line? I feel like you showed it to me, or maybe I ended up looking it up.
Maybe this might have been a different time too, but we saw the line for the pink wall was just absurd. It was like a block long, right? And it's just like these people, and it's all, what they're doing. They're going to the wall. They're taking and then they're doing the TikTok dance in front of it.
Yeah.
You see it in Hollywood. Like they're always in the one intersection of Hollywood and Vine doing the TikTok dance because it's one of those big ones where the crosswalks aren't one way then the other. They do it all at once.
Yeah.
So like it's like a minute of crosswalk for all the corners, right? So like people will get in the middle of it and they'll do their dance while everyone's walking. And like it's so common and it's so and I'm winding down here. So like I've also noticed this other trend because obviously it's like I read a lot, right?
Yes.
I went on Book Talk for a little bit. I went on Book Talk for a little bit. And this is the influencer talk in me right now, right? I went in Book Talk for a little bit and all the TikToks I got in the algorithm were all for the same author, all for the same book. You know what book I'm talking about?
Sarah J. Maas, like
no, that's one of them. That was the second one, but the first one was It Ends With Us, the Colleen Hoover.
Oh yeah, I've read that.
You know how many damn TikToks I got about this book, right? And I'm like, you know what? Book Talk is cool, but obviously, if at least the algorithm I'm getting, it's catered to a woman's audience, right? So I saw and I started thinking about because I was thinking about other stuff I could do outside of the podcast content wise and throw it up on my own personal. I was like, what if I do Book Talk, but I do books that guys would be interested in? Like, what if I went and did a 3-minute video and talked about, like Project Hail Mary? It's like sci-fi and space and stuff like that. I'm like, this. Or I did like a book about like Stephen King or some weird book. Or like I read the Norman Reedus book, like, and talk about that kind of stuff, right? So to break up kind of the monotony and maybe, get guys into reading stuff.
Yeah.
Most guys, there's a lot of guys that don't read. And if they do
I
read,
will. It's funny because when I think of a guy that reads, I think of like a hipster indie guy at a coffee shop that, like, you know what I mean?
it's
Like it
either
almost
that
has
or
that.
it's the other guy on the
Yeah.
other end that's reading books about like business and real estate and stock and
Oh
all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
like the Gary V's of
The Gary V's
like
of the world that are reading those type of books. Like, but there's never
yeah,
anything in the middle. Like,
right. Just like a guy that enjoys books.
yeah. So like maybe I'll
Like
go do a couple of those and break up the monotony a little bit,
mhm,
I tried to get
yeah.
you to do book talk and you just,
It's well, a lot of it's because like in pregnancy, like just sitting to read was really difficult for me. But also too, what's interesting about book talk is that it's hard actually for me to find, like when I go to book talk, a lot of it's just like spicy book talk. And I'm
yeah.
like, that's like the overwhelming. And so sometimes I'm just like, look, like there's some spice in the books that I read, but like I would actually like to have a book to read that's not predominantly spicy or something like that, or like the whole plot is just. But you'll see a lot of people that'll be like, "This is the smuttiest, spiciest thing I've ever read," and I'm like, "How about you just give me like a really nice fantasy book that like is, about some dragons and like wizards and like." But I feel like I've almost equated book talk with like spicy book talk. Like they're the same to me because my algorithm is just
It's
like,
really, really interesting because I'm
yeah.
I'm guessing my mom read them, your mom read them, those grocery store like romance, like
My mom's not a reader, surprising, so I've never seen her.
you know what I'm
I'm more
talking
of the
about
reader,
then,
but I
right?
know, yeah, the ones you go to like the dollar store and it's got like Fabio with his hair, like,
Yeah, those
and
grocery store romance novel type of thing.
yeah,
We're starting to see that like it's being marketed to a younger audience through a different
yeah,
avenue now.
hmm
And I mean, it's amazing how much influence TikTok has on things because like
yeah,
I've go to like 3 bookstores in town and
hmm
they all have a section with books that are hot on TikTok.
right,
I've seen the Colleen Hoover section. Like they put a table out of her best books that
yeah.
are talked about on TikTok. The other one with I think it's something Achilles. It has like the Roman mask on it on the cover and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what I'm
I
talking
can't remember
about.
the name of it. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And then the other one, you like the Sarah J. Maas ones, like the whole section.
Yeah,
So like the influence and it's actually doing bookstores a lot of good. Like it's doing them
I
really
know.
well.
Yeah, because I know Barnes and Noble has. Did you guys have Borders over there? I know we're like way off
I
topic, but
fucking
it
miss
was Borders.
Borders.
I loved Borders. We had this like Borders that was like around here and it was like on the water.
Yeah,
And they made it like a 2-story CVS, which doesn't make any sense
I
to
miss
me. Like I was
Borders.
like, so when Borders closed, I was like, well, Barnes and Noble is kind of like one of the last retail giants for books, besides like a Books a Million that's like stuffed in a mall or something.
Did you find
Um,
Did you find a small bookstore? I know you were looking.
there's not one in this area. We have a used bookstore that's like around the corner, but
Uh huh.
it's like you're not. It's like when people don't want things, they just, So you can't go and be like, oh, I'm looking for something specific. You're just kind of looking to be like, hey, what can I find here? Like,
Yeah, I know we're off topic, but we're winding down
yeah,
anyway. I noticed the
yeah,
one I've been going to. I sent you that picture. It
yes,
looks like an
that
old
looks
B.
really
It has
nice.
the look of Borders and B. Dalton. Like if you were young enough to remember B. Dalton,
I remember that.
like
Yeah.
old school looking bookstore. But they do this cute little thing where they have like the cards under the book and it tells you stuff about the book.
Oh, that's nice though.
Yeah, like if you're really really interesting and stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, they have things like the Colleen Hoover book, and it tells you about that book. Like this is the hot one right now, and like little stuff like
Yeah.
that, and it's all handwritten stuff, which is really cool.
Right.
I've also noticed the thing they're doing where it's like date night with a book, and it's like wrapped, and you don't know what it is,
Yeah,
and
I
you
got
pay.
that for my best friend for Christmas. I just bought her mystery books. I don't
Yeah,
even know what they are,
I thought
but
about doing one of those too. I was like, grab it and
yeah.
then read it and see what I get. Knowing my luck, I'll
Yeah.
get Colleen Hoover. It ends
You'll
with
get
those.
like the elf fae fantasy books that like,
I've been
we were
reading
talking
Pet
about.
Cemetery. That's
I
where I'm
saw
at.
that. I saw that you put that on your Goodreads.
I've been reading Pet Cemetery. Do
Um,
not read Pet Cemetery. You cannot read it.
really?
Hmm.
Is it just because it's like terrifying or like the way
It's
that
the
it's
topic. It's not terror. It's scary. It's
You're
like
right.
spooky and stuff like that, but the content, like the story, basically it's a story about grieving and loss and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you being a new mother coming along the way, you'll understand why you shouldn't read it.
Okay, I won't
Yeah.
read it then. Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
But like it's very like it's a strong book. Very strong book. But
Yeah.
we'll be back soon. What's the word, Hannah? Will you be joining us back regularly?
I should be,
You should be.
honestly. I think the only time I'll run into issues is if I have a pregnancy like sick moment.
What if you go into
Um,
labor like right on podcast? That would be like amazing.
I'm just gonna take the month of March to be like, I'm not gonna be on, like,
Yeah. No.
and maybe like late February too.
So on
I'm
that note,
just,
yeah, we're going to talk about more episodes we're going to do, and we're going to kind of get back into the swing of things while Hannah's
Mhm.
kind of, getting ready to that time. Um,
Yeah.
so I can know we've talked about it on Good Friends, Good Games. The schedule looking like we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish out through October. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's one more month, or there's one more episode this month of each show.
Yeah.
And then there is one episode of each show in the first half of November, and then we do not come back until the new year.
Right.
Because I think everyone's gonna go on vacation, and at least we're not gonna do podcasts. Like we'll
Right.
probably do other things. Like I think we were talking about doing video game or the game awards or whatever, and doing like a watch of that
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We'll do fun content-y type stuff, but we're not gonna really do podcasts. We're gonna
Right.
let
Because
people
schedules, it's harder to kind of mangle four people together.
traveling, and
Like,
especially when it's 4 to
yeah.
5 people. So traveling and all that
Right.
stuff's kind of rough. So we'll probably do some content-y things, and then
Mhm.
things of that sort. Same here. We'll probably try to do other things. We got to talk about some videos, like some small videos we can record.
Yeah.
I can say today, probably by start of tomorrow, I'm going to make the Good People with Eric and Hannah YouTube live. I'm going to actually publicly publish all the videos that we have up
Hey.
there so far. I was trying to do this thing where I would get the whole archive up and just have it launched,
Mhm.
so everything was like in dated order and everything. But I'm
Right.
finding out like it's going to be a tall order to do in a reasonable time frame,
Mhm.
because there was 27 episodes now.
Oh my
26
gosh, are we
episodes,
there
yeah.
already?
So that's 26
Sheesh.
episodes to like get up on YouTube and stuff like that. So that was a tall order. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make it live, and you'll be able to watch these soon on YouTube.
Mhm.
And then from there on, each episode go up on YouTube. So
Right.
that's that game plan. As always, you can find this on Apple, Spotify, that good stuff. We also have a couple people. We have Pow and we have Morgan. You know them as Batter Panda and Lady Shadow Ninja. They go and they scrub these videos and stuff for clips, and you'll start seeing clips on TikTok and Instagram and all that good stuff soon. That's my project for this weekend to get done, get some clips up. And
And they're the best.
you're going to start
We
seeing more of
appreciate
us.
them. Yes.
You're going
Now
to
that I'm out of that first trimester, I'm like, I can breathe now.
see you can breathe.
I can breathe. I can eat. I can, like, not throw my guts up.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks for sharing. You should just start your influencer life as a pregnant mother.
Oh, no, see, like, I don't even want to make, like, mom content. Like, I'm so, like, anti.
How's
Go ahead.
how's the club you're doing going? How's the women in gaming club going?
It is going really well. Like, that's kind of like that's like where my heart's at right now.
That's your
It's all
passion
volunteer.
project
That's my passion
outside
project.
of here.
That's like,
When are we going to get to see,
yeah.
are we going to get to see some content from that? What's the game?
Probably not. I'm probably not gonna, because it's just so personal to me. You know.
No, not I'm talking about, but like content from like, is the group going to have like a channel and all that stuff, like as promotional purposes or anything like that?
No. This is just strictly like a group of women, a group of like Christian women that, like, you know, do life together, and like we love playing games together, but it gives them a sense of community,
Mhm.
because that's sometimes hard to find in church spaces, because the Western church also, I'll go a little bit into it. The Western church tends to paint like women as like pink frilly, like
Right.
Ray Dunn. And so like when you go to church, you can like acknowledge, like in my head, I know like I'm not a unicorn by any means. There are other women out there that are like me, like this, but when you're in spaces where the majority look at women as frilly and pink, like you feel you can't be yourself. And so that was like the passion to the what was placed in my heart to start that, to find women like this and be like, look, you don't have to like change who you are. Like, let's just
for
hang
sure.
out and
Well,
but
if
that's
the
my
church-
passion project. And
If the
that's my-
church
it's
ever
going really
decides
well.
to like, take it further or whatever and make,
Mhm.
as a promotional tool for their church or whatever, let us know. So you can share some of that. But but other than that, yeah, we'll see you guys very, very soon.
Yes.
What's the date today anyway? 15th.
It's the 15th.
So
Oh, can I plug Dustin's Etsy shop?
yes,
Because
please
he's been
go
working really
plug
hard.
Dustin's Etsy shop.
Okay, so my husband is going to be a dad, and he's working hard and making money. Hold on. Let me get the
You got to
link
sing it
here.
like Dolly Parton. You can't just talk about it. You got to be like,
Working 9 to 5.
yeah, exactly.
Wait, hold on. What's the Etsy? I don't even remember the link. When I type in Dustin
Well,
onto
that's a hell of a
Etsy,
promo. I don't even know what link it is.
No, when I typed in Dustin into Etsy, it gave me like Stranger Things Dustin, and I'm like, no. Hello, why doesn't this link work? What's your link again, babe? Dustin. Yeah, but it's not coming up. It says, "Uh-oh, the page was not found." Hold on. Well, it's supposed to be called Dustin Kane Art on Etsy.
Let me see what I can get. Etsy. If you did not know,
it.
Dustin did the artwork for Good Friends, Good Games. So there's a prime example of fine work there.
He did. Here, let me plug it in chat. And so he's been doing
Wait, is it Dustin? You said what?
I just linked it in chat.
Oh, did it come up?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
So he's been selling like emote packages too, but right now he's selling merchandise and he does all the artwork. So I haven't watched Cyberpunk Edge Runner, but like that's been his like current thing he's into. So he's been putting out a lot of artwork for that.
Nice.
On t-shirts and like a mouse pad. And so me being his wife, I'm like, please support if you're into that kind of stuff.
I like the duck with the knife. I always like the duck with the knife.
I know, isn't that cute? But thank you for letting me plug that.
Plug it. Throw it all in there. And also, you know, if anyone ever listens to this and needs somebody to do artwork for their channels or whatever, you know, you can actually reach out to Dustin Kane here on in the chat here. And
is he?
He's in here. You know, he's not in here right now, but he hangs out in here, and you can reach out to him if you need some artwork done.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the date today? Today's the 15th. This is tentative. It's not accurate, but the next one with Hannah and I would be the 29th. Yes. So next week, the 22nd, you'll get Good Friends, Good Games, episode 10. We made it to 10 on that one.
Wow. That went by so fast.
Time goes by fast. So that'll be episode 10. And then the 22nd will be the 29th. The 29th will be Erik and Hannah, episode 27.
Wow, that's really cool. Ooh. Sorry, Dustin was showing me artwork.
All right. So on that note, do you have anything else before we head out of here?
Nope. Feels good to be back. Feels like I wasn't gone.
Are we plugging the TikTok yet? Are you doing private TikTok? Are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
I
don't got anything.
Is it just your rants?
Yeah, it's just no. Like I literally anything that I post on my TikTok, it was just like promoting Dustin. So I don't have any like personal content at the moment.
I think you should just film yourself road raging. We all need to see that.
And because I get many views, that's a problem.
Then you're an influencer. We'd like to send you $100,000 worth of liquid death water.
I'll be an influencer for $100,000.
Yeah. I'll influence people on how to not be influencers. There you go. I solved the problem. All right, guys. We'll see you all very, very soon. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We appreciate you. We'll see you again on the 29th. This has been The Good People with Erik and Hannah. I'm Erik.
I'm Hannah.
And we'll catch you all very, very soon.
Good night or goodbye.
It's about nighttime.
It's 6:00 my time.